Click, click, boom, dynamite. What's going on, faithfuls? It's Nick, nothing but Niners, rocking it out as always. Um, Look, guys, we're going to talk a little bit tonight about what the 49ers have done in the free agency frenzy, if you want to call it the free agency frenzy tonight. But we're going to talk a little bit about that. We're going to get some. Myself and Mike brought our news earlier with the breaking news to about Kwon Alexander. So we're going to get some input from Anthony. There's been a lot of talk on Twitter, the Twitterverse and Facebook and everything else going on. Sorry about that. My phone just went off. So we're gonna talk to Anthony a little bit. We're gonna talk about what's going on Twitter. We're gonna talk about who's still out there. What are possibilities still for the 49ers? We're gonna talk about who's went where that will affect the 49ers in our division so far. And then we'll open the show up. If you guys want to talk, let's talk. If you want to jump in on video, jump in on video. We're good with that. So let me go through all the formalities real quick. Make sure you follow us. Make sure you hit the like and subscribe button right down the right-hand corner. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Snapchat, nothing but 9ERS. You can follow us on Instagram and Facebook, nothing but Niners, all spelled out. You can follow our website, nothingbutniners.com. You can find all of our social media avenues there as well. I got a slew of great writers over there bringing you breaking news, articles all the time. So make sure you check out nothingbutniners.com. I am 49er Faithful 365 on Twitter. If you want to follow me, you can go ahead and do that. Anthony is at Anthony Perry 925. Right. So Anthony is Anthony Perry 925. And without further ado, Anthony, what's going on, man?
What's going on? The Niners finally made their first, quote, big signing that has come with a lot of speculation. So we're here to break it down and talk about it because the signing is a lot better than what people think.
Yeah, it definitely is. Look, so the Niners, all right, so everybody's concerned. We went out and we signed a linebacker, which was a big need for this team, in Kwon Alexander. Kwon Alexander's been playing in the league for 4 years now. The 1 year he did play a full season, 16 games. He had 145 tackles. The kid is very, very fast. He closes in a lot, which can account to some of his missed tackles that he's had. Everybody's so worried about his missed tackles and his ACL injury. Guys, this isn't 20 years ago. Players come back from ACLs like it's no tomorrow. If you have an issue with ACLs and you're like, don't sign them, they shouldn't be playing in the NFL, don't pay big money. We have 2 ACL guys coming back right now, Jimmy Garoppolo, Jerick McKinnon. Are you going to cut both of those guys because they got ACL injuries, or do you feel they're never going to be the same? I understand Jimmy is a quarterback. Kwon is a linebacker. Big difference. I understand that. But if you go and you watch this guy's tape, he was one of the known linebackers in the league to come out this year, one of the top guys linebacking wise. This guy is very, very fast. He is very poised. He follows gap assignments, and Tampa Bay's defensive line was not that good. So took up a lot of his gap issues and stuff like that. But watching tape, I saw one game I saw 2 times. He pretty much bounced off the guy from a tackle. He wasn't rapping. But he was so fast getting there, he would bounce off the guy, and then his teammates would clean it up, and they'd count it as a missed tackle. So I recommend you go watch some tape on the guy. He's not as bad as everybody thinks. And the deal, Anthony, is what was it, 4 years, $54 million, right, with $27 million guaranteed. I can guarantee you that Parag wrote this contract. It's basically a 2-year contract with the $27 million guaranteed. It ends up being $6 to $7 million a year, counted against the cap, and it's essentially a 2-year contract. I can guarantee that's what he did. Now, there's no details out yet exactly how the contract is broken down or written out or structured. What are your thoughts so far, Anthony?
I like the signing a lot more than people think. I mean, he was literally one of the only bright spots in Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has been consistently the worst defense for a long time. And is this a sort of way of John Lynch kind of paying homage to his Tampa Bay days? I don't think so. But overall, Kwon Alexander will project at the will linebacker spot for our defense. And once he comes back healthy, I think it's a great addition. It's a great pairing with Fred Warner. I initially wanted Mosley, but seeing that we go after Kwon Alexander, someone I didn't expect, these two should be able to grow with each other and learn side by side and be able to be one of the better young linebacker tandems in the NFL. And they're both cover guys. They both can cover zone. They both are decent at man. And the thing, too, is that they have a lot to learn. Everyone's saying that the missed tackles thing is a big problem. Well, I get that, but it's something that can be cleaned up. Guys aren't generally bad tacklers their whole career. It's something that could fundamentally be fixed. And again, Kwon Alexander is only 24 years old. He turns 25 in August. 4-year contract. He has so much room to grow, so much room to learn. And the whole missed tackle thing should be overlooked because, yeah, the $27 million guaranteed thing sounds like a lot, but look at it this way. If Kwon Alexander works out and comes back healthy and almost as good as we expected him to be, then no one's going to be complaining at that point. No one's going to be complaining when he shows up in the last game of the season when it's up to us to be in the wild card spot. You never know. Kwon Alexander has a lot to come back from with an ACL injury. I get that. But as Nick stated, guys aren't coming back as slowly as they were 20 years ago, 10 years ago. The type of medical treatment that these guys get nowadays, the way these guys are physically and genetically built is insane. It's absolutely insane. We saw Hunter Henry come back from an ACL 9 months after the surgery to make the playoffs for the Chargers. And he's a tight end. And he tore his ACL in May last season. So if Hunter Henry can do it, Kwon Alexander can do it. Now, the main concern, though, is that will the ACL zap speed? And barring any setbacks in rehab, I don't think the ACL will affect his speed as much as people think. So with that being said, overall, other than the injury and other than the missed tackles thing, this is a really, really good signing. It's a great signing for a young, budding defense that still needs time and room to grow, and Alexander is just a perfect piece on this defense. It comes with ramifications for the other guys, but we'll get into that in a little bit. But overall, Kwon Alexander is a great signing. The contract looks like a lot, but you got to overpay to get the guys you want. It happens every season in the NFL. And everyone was upset about the Jerick McKinnon contract. Look how much he's making now. It's very minimal compared to the first season. Jimmy Garoppolo is the same too. I believe Garoppolo is the 19th highest quarterback now.
22nd. 22nd.
And I get he missed the whole season, just like Jerick, but you look at it now, and it's like, that was then, this is now. So if Garoppolo and Jerick McKinnon perform at a higher level than we expect, or even that we expect, their contracts are going to be absolute steals. And I wouldn't be surprised if Parag did this with Kwon Alexander also.
Yeah, and I think that this contract is going to be incentive-based. And what I mean by that is the injuries, playtime, accomplishments, stuff like that. It's you were talking about contracts and free agency. Everybody gets overpaid. You've seen Tyrann Mathieu turned down an offer from Houston at $9.5 million a year. Now I'm going to test free agency. He went out there. He got $14 million a year. So you're going to be overpaid. It really depends on what's at your position, who's there, and I'm waiting to see what the Anthony Barr contract is because he just signed with the Jets, and they're still in the running for C.J. Mosley. Now, yes, C.J. Mosley's younger, but you were going to pay way more for C.J. Mosley. So the thing that's stopping all these Niners fans from people are always going to complain because you're never going to make everybody happy, but is because of the name. The name, the ACL injury, everybody's like, oh, we're going back to the Trent Baalke days. We're going back to the Trent Baalke days. But, excuse me, at the end of the year, everybody's like, oh, yeah, we still have Contavious Street. But when we drafted Contavious Street, everybody was riding his jock saying we shouldn't have been doing this. So now everybody's looking forward to see what Contavious Street has. You're not complaining that Jerick McKinnon has a knee injury. You're not complaining that Jimmy Garoppolo has a knee injury. There was a guy last year who injured his knee. I forget who it was. October 22nd of 2017. And he came back and he did not. He was at the preseason game 1 playing after an ACL injury. Kwon Alexander hurt his knee October 21st, 2018. So there's still a chance for him to come back in preseason and play. He may miss training camp and OTAs and not be all that well, but I guarantee you he will probably most likely be available. He will probably most likely be available for opening day. Guys, I'm gonna try to follow along in the chat a little bit tonight while Anthony's talking and stuff like that. So if I'm not looking at you, hold on. We actually got a phone call. So give me a second. What's going on, buddy?
What's up, Nick? It's Rolls Royce, man. David Royce. What's up, brother?
David, what's going on, buddy? How are you tonight?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good, man. I just want to talk about this first day partial of free agency and kind of what I see, what's going on.
All right, so go ahead and fill us in. Let everybody know what's up.
Okay. All right, so here's my biggest thing, man. Take away from John Lynch's first day of where you could talk to players. Every report I've seen on Twitter, social media, ESPN, you name it, whatever, he hasn't even reached out to Earl Thomas, like not even reached out to him. What is our absolute needs is a pass rush and a safety. I'm cool with the Alexander contract, but my point is there's not even any connections to our needs. There's no pass rush and there's no safety on any of these players at all. Like, we haven't even contacted them. That, to me, is worrisome because those are needs. Those are things you got to get right. We could have got a linebacker in the draft in first, second, third round and been okay. But for an all-star safety and a pass rush, you can't wait on those things. You have got to jump at it and fill the waters and, like, be all over the news. You can't wait. And then when they're gone, be like, oh, well, I guess we'll just get one in the draft. Because then you're going to get a below-average safety, or possibly you're going to bank everything on Bosa and number 2. That seems like a huge risk to me for a pass rusher. That's just my opinion. What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, so I mean, I agree with you as in the part where why is John Lynch not active with like a Earl Thomas or anybody? And there was reports that they are going highly sought after a safety. Now, the other thing is we didn't hear anything about the 49ers being interested in Kwon Alexander, right? Nothing at all.
Right.
Which I think this is actually good for the Niners because us as Niners fans are so used to hearing so many leaks about, this player or that player or what's going on in free agency or what's going on in around the building. Now I'm not going to say that John Lynch has met with or talked with Earl Thomas. I'm sure that if the Niners and him have affiliation of wanting to be together, I'm sure he will reach out. I think right now they're looking. I think they're kind of waiting because there's so many safeties out there, and I think they're trying to get a gauge as to what they're going to pay in free agency for a safety. Now, don't get me wrong. This is just my opinion, but I think that the Niners will pursue Earl Thomas. I think the fact of the leaks not being released is a good sign. I think that's a good sign for the Niners because they're not showing their hands. It was the same thing where we didn't hear anything about the Khalil Mack until afterwards, and John Lynch said, well, we offered the same exact thing, but the Raiders turned us down. So I understand it's frustrating, and I understand that, all this other stuff, but we are only in the first day. There's nobody really talking about Earl Thomas other than the Cowboys, which they said they can only pay $8 to $10 million a year. He's not going to take $8 to $10 million a year, especially with the deal that whatchamacallit just got, Matthew and Landon Collins. He's going to be in that $14 to $15 million a year range. And I think what they're doing is trying to let other test the market. They're testing the market, see what people are getting paid. So because one way or another, if you want Earl Thomas, you're gonna overpay. You're gonna have to, whether there's somebody else involved or not. They could have spoke to him and said, hey, get your offers, bring us your best offer back, and we'll see if we can match it or tie it. And there's no communication with anybody else. So nobody knows what the Niners are really talking about. I know it's frustrating, and I know it's really frustrating, especially about Kwon Alexander. But
right.
this kid at 24 years old was the heart and soul of the Tampa defense. Now, I lived in Tampa, so I just moved back to New Jersey last year. So I've lived in Tampa, so I followed the Buccaneers a lot. He was one of their biggest stars there in Tampa, and everybody loved him. Yes, missed tackles could very well be cleaned up, but he's 24 years old. He'll be 25 the start of the new year. His 1 year, he started 16 games. He had as a rookie, he got suspended for PEDs. And then after his brother died, he literally straightened up his whole act. Like, he did nothing, stayed away from, violence, guns, drugs, everything like that. Really started to play well and became that heart and soul of that defense. Now, if you watch his tape, you can see a lot of times where he's hitting off of guys. He's not rapping, but he's hitting them.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, and he's hitting them, and he's missing the tackle, but he's knocking these guys pretty much on their ass. Excuse the language.
Right.
But other guys are cleaning up, so he's losing that on as tackles. So I really don't think this is a bad signing. I think it just scares Niner fans because we're so used to Trent Baalke drafting and signing hurt players. But
let me ask you this, Nick. Let me ask you this: if we were to pay another $2 to $3 million each year and get Mosley, would you have done it?
Yes, but it depends on what you have planned. So this is why I think the Niners really have something planned. I don't think it's like, oh, we're just going after this guy because that's only who we can afford, or that's what we can do, because they know they have other needs. They may know that, okay, we're going to have to pay $15 million, and Earl Thomas is going to want a lot of guaranteed money up front.
Right.
So you look at the way we structured Kwon Alexander's contract once it comes out. I'm pretty sure it's going to be pretty much a 2-year deal. And based off of that $27 million, which will probably average out to anywhere from $6 to $8 million a year cap hit. So it's not that bad of a signing contract wise. If you can get a kid at 24 years old or 25, come back from a ACL injury and pair him with Fred Warner for years to come. And I know CJ's not that much older, but he's also going to call it. He's definitely going to get more than, that $3 extra million, because he's going to want a lot of.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's true. But I'm just saying, I would rather pay the more guaranteed money and get a CJ that's like locked and loaded and ready to go than get a cheaper player that you're hoping will come through, with Alexander.
Right. And I understand what you're saying there. But my fact on that is anything guaranteed in the NFL? Is anything guaranteed in the NFL? David, you still there? Oh, I think I lost him. I see Mike jumped in here. Mike, what's going on, man?
Just stop through to say what's up to the fellas, show some love. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
Okay. Yeah, I'm out on the road. I'm still working. I just got up to my next patient's house, and I got some paperwork to fill out. So I figured I'd check in and see how you guys were doing. I heard you guys talking about the Kwon Alexander contract and things like that. Another thing that we got to keep in mind is, you were talking about the plan. There's a lot of players that the team can pick up, but you also have to worry about fits. I'm not saying that Mosley wouldn't be a fit, but it depends on what they're trying to do, really. We're gonna have to step back and see how this thing plays out. There's a lot of times where players leave one team and play better somewhere else. There's a lot of times where they go somewhere else and play worse. We have no idea how it's going to work out, and I think that's what you were alluding to when you were talking to the last gentleman on the phone, saying, what's guaranteed in the NFL? The answer is nothing. And yeah, we could have paid a couple more million a year to get a guy to guarantee that we get him. But what if that guy wasn't the fit for whatever the plan is that they have? So we just don't know.
And David was just basically saying, would we pay that extra $3 million for a CJ Mosley? And how come the 49ers aren't showing, or there hasn't been a lot of reports as the Niners coming in and being interested in Earl Thomas? And I was saying that they possibly could be. We're just not hearing those leaks. And I know there was leaks about Kwon Alexander on like Bleacher Report and things like that, but it wasn't like crazy known until we're like, what? The Niners signed a linebacker? So as much as we follow it, Anthony, what were your points on what David was talking about?
I initially wanted CJ Mosley, but kind of like Mike said, you have to see how he fits on the team. I mean, I'm totally not really against, or excuse me, let me start over. I'm somewhat against taking guys coming out of different schemes and putting them into another scheme. So I understand it's a little different being a linebacker, but CJ Mosley would be coming out of a traditional 3-4 and being put into a 4-3. I don't think he'd have too much of a problem with that transition, but getting him acclimated to something different isn't exactly what I'm a fan of right away, considering that Kwon Alexander was already coming out of a 4-3 in Tampa. But would I pay someone like Mosley 3 to 4 million more per year? I would say yes, but the ramifications that come with signing someone like him, getting him readjusted, getting him to understand that the NFC is a totally different division, is I don't think I'm a fan of that right away. But yeah, it's definitely interesting to see that we attacked linebacker first rather than addressed something like edge and safety. And I'll admit, Earl Thomas is what we need. I think everyone agrees that's what we need, but I wouldn't mind if we went after someone like Adrian Amos also. It's my next favorite signing that I think the Niners should totally go after if Earl Thomas is off the table.
Amos signed with Denver, I believe. I think
Really?
yeah. It hasn't been reported by any big names yet, but Zach and Steve Mullen in our groups were just saying the Denver Broncos alerts on Twitter said Broncos have agreed to deal with safety Adrian Amos. So wait to hear it a little bit more, but you never know.
Okay, so with that being said, then Earl Thomas should be totally on the radar. He should be the number one option for good now. Aside from that, though, yeah, it's interesting that we went after linebacker first when it seems like that safety and edge are the clear bigger needs. With that being said, though, some other options on the edge market that are still available are like Ziggy Ansah, Shane Ray, Justin Houston, Zadarius Smith, and Shaq Barrett. So the options are out there for us to address edge. And, everyone expects the big splashy first day signings. Well, sometimes it takes time. You're not going to initially sign someone right away. For all we know, Earl Thomas could be in our books. It could just be working out contract stuff. You never know. So I wouldn't rule out Earl Thomas, and I wouldn't really rule out anyone that people think we need, because you can't expect so much on the first day. And, once you work out the contracts, you got to spend money to make money. And that's what the Niners could be doing exactly. So it's a wait and see process. Everyone wants everything to be addressed right away, but it takes time. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah, definitely. Mike, do you have anything to follow up with what Anthony was saying?
Not about those players in particular. I've been seeing so much stuff on Twitter about how people are reacting to it. The Niners weren't really busy on day one or during the tampering period last time, and the names that we were getting were tier 2 players, but we were signing them on day one. Now that we're doing it, people are looking for reasons to complain. But what about this guy? Well, what about that guy? Well, what about? Listen, this is not Madden. You're not going to get Earl Thomas, Justin Houston, trade for OBJ. You're not doing all of these things in one offseason. It's just not realistic. It's not reality. You have to go. You have to balance quality, and you have to balance it with your budget. It's just life. You know what I mean? No one's talking about a Preston Smith. Preston Smith could be a really good signing for the 49ers. But instead, people are going to say, I want the D4. I know that name. I want the Houston. That I know that name. It's like people are afraid to just step back and take a look at the quality signings that are out there and available. So it's a lot to watch, man. People are, what the F is John Lynch doing every time someone else is signed? As if they expect us to just get everybody. And if we were to get an Earl Thomas, you're still going to see complaints. All right, so we got Jimmy Garoppolo and Jerick McKinnon coming back off an ACL. We signed another guy who had just coming back off an ACL. Now we're getting a guy with a metal rod in his leg, and coming back off of a broken leg. They're going to complain about any and everything.
Yeah, and that's the hard part about this fan base, and I'm not trying to. And most of our fans are really good, and they watch film and they watch knowledge and are knowledgeable and they know about players and such like that. But when you watch this kid ball out when he's healthy, he has a lot of potential. He has a lot of potential, and like you said, everybody's so down on signing a guy with an ACL injury, but Earl Thomas has had to put a rod in his leg because he broke that same leg twice. So he ended up putting a rod in there to prevent that from happening. So now because he has a rod, it's okay. So it was an injury that happened twice. But because he's a big name, it would be okay. It would be okay. So if Kwon Alexander was a big name and people really knew who he was, and like I said, I lived in Tampa, so I knew who he was. They're big on him out there. And even when we were doing our breaking news, we had a ton of Tampa Bay fans in there talking about, you guys are getting a baller. I'm so sad to see this guy go. He's our heart and soul of our defense. And they're just saying I'm loving to be able to see this pairing with the speed with him and Fred Warner being able to split this field in half and be able to cover up middle and tackle. Like I said, Tampa Bay's defensive line wasn't as good. I'm not saying that our rush defense is better, but we're not bad with the rush defense. We've gotten a lot better over the last year and a half. I think we were like third or fifth in rush defense this year.
Top 10.
Huh?
Top 10.
Yeah, we were top 10 rush. Tampa Bay was not a top 10 rush defense. So you will have that help. So Mike, go ahead. It looks like you have something to say.
I was going to try to pull up a tweet that I favorited, but I can't because I'm on my phone right now. But if either of you guys have access to Twitter and you can pull up my account, look at my recent likes. It's like the first like that you'll see if you refresh it. There's a stat in there that talks about, it breaks down Tampa Bay's rushing yards per game of last year, and every game they show it. It'll be like 80, 102, 76, 48, and then they show where Kwon Alexander's injury was, and then they show all the rushing yards. It's like 168.
Yeah, I got it right here.
Oh, you got it? Okay, cool.
After Kwon Alexander's ACL injury, they only had one game where they gave up less than 100 rushing yards. I'm looking at it now, and their average rushing yards given up looks like it's about 150 after Kwon got hurt. They had one game where they gave up 242 rushing yards. 200.
Yeah, but what were the numbers his first 6 games that he was there?
43, 91, 78, 139, 70, and 119. So 4 out of the 6 games he played in with Tampa Bay were under 100 yards. That's huge.
Yeah, I mean, that stat right there just shows you how much of like I was saying, he is the heart and soul of that defense. Like I said, his first year playing 16 games, he had 145 tackles. That's no slouch. So you get 145 tackles, but you lead the league in 78 missed tackles. You know what that tells me? My man is around the ball all the time. That's what it tells me. My man is around the ball. Maybe he just needs to get better at – I mean, I'll be dropping a highlight video of him probably soon, once it's official. But there were some parts that I slowed down so you could see his form and things that he has and the ability that he's going to have. Like I said, he's a young kid. He's going to learn. Him and Fred Warner paired next to each other. I'm just telling you to get on board now because I'm telling you it's going to be fire.
Yeah, I want to comment about that. Now that Kwon Alexander is hired, we got to talk about the rest of the roster, especially at the linebacking spot. Malcolm Smith's spot should be safe, barring any draft picks or any other signings we make. But I want to speak out that this puts Elijah Lee and Mark Nazacha on the spot now. With Kwon Alexander being the starting will guy, we're going to see a nice little dogfight between these two. Obviously, Nazacha was a pretty key special teamer when he played all season. And Elijah Lee filled in pretty nicely, with all the injuries that we had. So I want to say that's something interesting to really see. And I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if we do sign another low-key free agent at linebacker. And I want to comment on that because I agree with Mike what he said, that It's not about the big splashy signings we make. It's about the scheme fit signings we make. Everyone wants to see the big name guys like Earl Thomas and CJ Mosley and Trent Brown and all these guys get signed, but it doesn't work that way. We need to sign guys that fit this scheme more so than guys that hold big names. All the time we see big free agent signings don't work out, no matter their name. And it's going to happen this year. Someone's going to bust, and everyone expected them to be great. Signing guys like Preston Smith or Zadarius Smith or Justin Houston, whoever it is, well, minus Houston, but low-key guys, you know? Low-key guys that we signed that can make an impact on defense or on offense is what we need to go after more rather than the big signing guys. So it'll be interesting to see. But like I want to circle back to, Elijah Lee and Mark Nuzacha are going to be fighting for that second spot. It's gonna be big. Kwon Alexander's impact on this team is going to be huge, but it's going to be felt especially throughout the linebacking unit too.
Yeah, and in this defensive scheme, you need athletes and speed at the linebacker position. Kwon brings that. He ran a 4.5 at the combine. That's what he ran, a 4.5. So him and Fred Warner both have speed. Like I said, I can't wait to see if this kid get healthy and split this field in half. If you watch, once I put out our highlight video, you'll see how closing speed. If you're on Twitter, go check out on Nothing But Niners page. Scott Gielan put out a hell of a breakdown and some gifs of him doing breakdowns of his film. And it was against Atlanta. Go check it out because I'm telling you, if you really, really sit down and watch this kid and think about him healthy, which you can't sit there and say, well, he has an ACL injury and like hold it against him because everybody comes back from ACLs nowadays. So think about him being healthy. Think about how he fits in our scheme, which I think he fits our scheme better than CJ Mosley does, to be honest, like you were saying, Anthony. He's definitely got a lot of speed. He definitely can cover. We talked about his grades, myself and Mike doing breaking news, and I can bring those grades up again real quick if we want to. But he definitely every year he went up. So in, let's just say 2015, he was, or let's go 2016. He was a 57.9 in pass rush. 2017, he was a 71.9 in pass rush. 2018, he was a 78.8 in pass rush. Excelled from a 57 to a 78 before he got hurt. Tackling, he went down a little bit. He went from a 60 in 16 to a 48 in 17 to a 51.4 in 18. Now, obviously, he only played 6 games in 18 as well. Rush defense, he went from a 59 to a 50 to a 53. Coverage rates went down a little bit, 72 to 72 to 62, or 57, I'm sorry. And overall defense, he is at a 59.1 in 2018. Now, if he didn't get hurt in 2018, I can guarantee you that his rate would have been better than a 59.1. So that's just some of his conversions. So the team performance in pass percentage, in split, he was a 63.9 percentage. At a split, he was a 51.2%. Run percentage when he was in splits, he was a 36.1. At a split, 48.8. Run success rate, in split, 47.1. At a split, 51.8. Explosive run percentage, 5% in split and 6.9% at a split. Let's see. Explosive pass, 16.4 and 17.8. Turnover percentage was 0.3% in split, 2.6% at a split. Sack percentage, 4.9, 7.8. In split, yards per carry, 3.73. And at a split, 5.02. Yards per pass attempt was 8.94 to at a split, 8.1. And this is in split, 359 snaps to 705 snaps out of split. That's just some numbers. I know I just rambled them off to you guys, but it's still something good to know. If you're interested in that, I'm going to check the chat again real quick. to see if anybody. CJ Mosley can't cover. I see that. Can't wait to see what Contavious Street can do. Exactly, Ray. Ali says yes. Kwon does fit better. What's up, Ali Bear? Number one Broncos fan in here. Hey, thanks for joining in here, man. I heard that Tyrell Williams is going to Oakland. Still a lot of talk about OBJ. Problems with speed, Ray. I agree with you with CJ Mosley. Ray said Lynch did a great move because the Jets were ready to get Kwon Alexander. So you can definitely Casey says you can draft edge, especially in this class, which is definitely true. So we talked about Kwon. Anthony, what grade would you give this guy? Would you give John Lynch for this signing? On it from you asked this question earlier, so I want to hear what your opinion is. You said from A to F. What would you give this signing or on the player? I don't want to say John Lynch. What would you give this player if healthy? If he's a healthy player?
If healthy, he's just. I'm not gonna lie, he's a solid A. It's easy to look at PFF stats and think, "Oh, this is a bad player." You guys have to overlook stats. You guys have to overlook what he did. So what if he got 3 tackles? So what if he got 5 tackles? You got to overlook that stuff. Look at what he does on the film. The guy is a quick, instinctive cover linebacker that has some fixing up to do, but fits perfectly at this spot. I've seen a lot of comparisons to Reuben Foster about Kwon Alexander. Hell, we've been hearing about it. Kwon Alexander is actually 4 months younger than Reuben Foster. Go figure. So I believe that Kwon Alexander will fill perfectly and be what Reuben Foster should have been. Minus all the off-field issues, I don't think Kwon Alexander is going to have any of that at all. But with that being said, I give it a solid A if he's healthy because he brings ferocity to a defense that needs it. And like you said, Nick, this defense needs athleticism, purely. And we haven't had that athleticism since we had Willis and Bowman and that legendary D-line. And are we rebuilding that? I don't think up to that caliber that defense was then. But this defense is getting a lot better as the years go on. And I said in the last video, Salah and these guys need a lot of patience. They need a lot of time to grow and develop. And Kwon is going to help that. Mike Evans and Cameron Great, both on Twitter, said that Kwon Alexander is a true leader of the clubhouse. He's a great guy to have, and he's going to fill in well on this team. That's why I give it an A, because the guy is going to bring leadership to a linebacking core that, outside of Warner, almost seems kind of lost and confused. I'm not going to lie. There's a lot more security knowing that we have Alexander in at the will position, and we need it. We need that athleticism. We need that intensity that good defenses have. And it'll be something that we have to wait and see when the draft comes to see how we address edge or whatever we do in free agency. But overall, this first signing is a really good signing. Ignore the ACL stuff. Ignore the PFF stuff. Look at the film and look what the guy can do. The guy can ball. Like I said, it's easy to look really bad on a bad defense and be pointed out for it and be singled out. And Kwon Alexander was honestly the best guy on that outside of Levante Davis. And so him coming into this spot on the Niners is fantastic. It's a great signing by Lynch. Overall, it's an A from me. Absolute A.
Yeah, and I would give it a B plus probably, B plus or an A minus, and I see a lot of potential in this kid. So I'm not going to sit here and judge him off of an ACL injury because, like I said, it happens so frequently in the NFL. It's not a career-ending injury. I brought this up earlier on Twitter because people was trashing me. We drafted Frank Gore, right? And Frank Gore had 2 knee surgeries before we drafted him. And this fan base absolutely, absolutely loves Frank Gore. 2 knee surgeries. The guy is still pushing. He's like 99 years old. And he just signed a deal with Buffalo. What, 1 year, $4.5 million. Still pushing with 2 ACL injuries. I think one of them was an ACL MCL, and he has had this long ass career in the NFL, and that's not even 20 years ago.
And he's 500 yards away from breaking Barry Sanders' all-time rushing record.
Exactly.
Third place.
So to sit here and bash somebody for paying them or bringing a guy on because of an ACL injury is just absolutely absurd. Because there are guys that come back. These athletes nowadays, the way they heal is crazy. I mean, you can look at Terrell Owens and playing in the Super Bowl the same year he broke his leg. Like weeks later, like 11 weeks later or something like that. Playing, running routes, catching balls, and destroying the Patriots. They would have won that game if Donovan would stop puking in the huddle. But, but I'm just saying, it's just everybody loves Frank Gore so much, and he had the same issue coming out of college. He was hurt. Everybody's like, what are we doing? The reason is because there are some that don't pan out. What was the one running back that we drafted? Didn't even play a snap for us. I'll think of his name. But my point is that ACL injuries are not what they used to be. It depends on the drive, your initiative, and how bad you want to come back as that player. Because if their drive is there and you're young, you can come back from an ACL injury like it's no tomorrow. Marcus Lattimore. That was the Marcus Lattimore.
Yeah.
Now that's a bad example, but it's just to show you that 24 years old, he's going to be 25. He can easily come back from this injury and ball out. He can easily do it. So I just don't understand why they hate. And everybody's so mad about the contract. We talked about that. We talked about the contract. 4 years, $54 million with $27 million guaranteed. I can guarantee you that it's a 2-year deal with guaranteed upfront incentives and guaranteed money, and then the rest is incentives, and it pretty much breaks down to a 2-year deal with $6 to $8 million a year, counting against the cap. And what will happen is, I put this graph out earlier on YouTube that one of the guys shared with me in a text message chat that I'm at. I think it was Kyle or Quest for Six. I'm not remember. It said 49ers fans when we sign a player, and I'm going to tell you exactly what it is because it's funny. It says 49ers signed player to new deal. Then it goes to green. Everybody freaks out about overpaying. It goes blue. Actual contract details released. Goes purple. Parag Marate wins again. And that is exactly the 49ers fan base. Everybody overreacts. And then when we see the actual contract, we're like, that's not that bad. You'll still have people today, nowadays, that are saying that, we overpaid Malcolm Smith. Yes, we did, because he was what we needed to get in here to teach people, and it just didn't pan out. If you look at Malcolm Smith when we signed him, we brought in guys like Logan Paulson, people who knew this system, knew the offensive system and knew the defensive system to get guys going. Now, obviously, we had to pay Malcolm Smith because that's what happens in free agency. You overpay people. But now we've restructured his deal, and we brought on Kwon Alexander. If Kwon Alexander's healthy and ready to go, you can pretty much kiss Malcolm Smith goodbye, because then Elijah Lee will fill in. So my personal opinion is everybody just needs to relax. We need to wait for the contract details. We need to see how his recovery is going and go from there. So it's what are we in now? March? Yeah. 5 months in from an ACL injury. I'm sure he can be back by September. I'm just sure.
He's got Garoppolo and Jet coming off ACLs too, so he's got ACL buddies to help him out. But yeah, that's the thing though. It's like Malcolm Smith is coming off a contract that a lot of people questioned, and they restructured it, so now he's worth a lot less. Not worth less, but his contract is worth a lot less. And who knows, if Malcolm Smith works out, then it's going to look like a good contract for a solid starter. So you got to trust the process of Parag Marate, because the guy knows what he's doing. He knows how to handle these things. And you look at Jet, you look at Rickberg, you look at Garoppolo. These guys are very little cap now in their position. Yeah, their first year is a bust, but you got to take it with a grain of salt and look at where we're at now because of all those injuries.
You know,
Yeah, to be another year out of competing, but at the same time, we're one step closer from one spot to really push for the playoffs.
right.
That's both.
You know, it's funny because DeVink34 says this, and he says AP came back 7 months after an ACL and was 9 yards away from the all-time single-season rushing record. Absolutely. It can be done. Like, these guys can do it, so I don't know why everybody's freaking out. And like I said, I think the biggest thing everybody's freaking out with is because of the name. It's not an Anthony Barr. It's not CJ Mosley. It's because 49ers fans listen to all the hype on Twitter and Facebook and the rumors that people put out, and they're like, we're going after Mosley. We're going after Barr. We're signing Houston. We're going to trade for a Ford. We're going to get OBJ. You know, and they build themselves up. And then when John Lynch actually makes a decent move, everybody's hurt. Their heart is hurt. All right. Let's look. Let's move on from Kwon. I gave him a B minus, A minus, or a B plus, A minus. You gave him a low A, right? An A.
Yep.
I think a lot of the fans that are in the room are saying the same thing. You know, A, B, and they're saying they're giving John Lynch. I've seen John Lynch a C. I can't grade John Lynch yet because I need to see what the player can do. Because if this player comes back and balls out and becomes, he was already in the Pro Bowl in 2017. So he was a Pro Bowl player. If he can get back to that form, him and Fred Warner, we can literally have Patrick Willis, Navarro Bowman type Pro Bowl team in that linebacking secondary. So part of it is because nobody was talking about us going after him. Exactly, because fans don't know who they are and don't watch and don't see what he can do. Which will, you know, once he starts balling, I told somebody on Twitter today, and I don't usually go after people, but I was like, I'll just remember, I said, I'll remember this. I'll remember your tweets to me about this. Just don't go riding his jock once he starts performing well, because you've already bashed the dude to where there's no tomorrow. So Richard Gonzalez says, that's laughable. We don't have Navarro Bowman or Patrick Willis. What, are you kidding me? We're not even close to having these type of linebackers. I didn't even say that they were them. I'm saying that we can have a potential matching like them in these two young players. Nobody knew Navarro Bowman and Patrick Willis were going to be who they were. Nobody. And if you said that you knew that they were going to be that, I will call you flat out lying. You're a flat out liar. Because nobody knew who Patrick Willis was going to be. Nobody knew who Navarro Bowman was going to be, because he did not even play that well in college at Penn State. So
no, not at all.
Not at all. And a lot of fans complained about us picking up Navarro Bowman. A ton. So there's potential there to have a good linebacking core. So
yeah, and it's not that these guys are going to be Patrick Willis or be Navarro Bowman, but these guys are going to be a top linebacking core in the NFL, especially with how young they are. We're not saying that they can be as good as them. We want them to be. I would love them to be. But we want linebackers to get the job done. And Warner has already proven he could do that. Kwon Alexander has proven he can do that. Having a nice 1-2 punch in those guys will have an effect like Willis and Bowman did. Whether it's as impactful as it was or not, it's going to be like you'll see the similarities to how they're going to play versus how those two played back in the day. It's going to be a nice tandem, and it's going to improve this defense vastly. Now, like I said, and like everyone agrees, we still need the pieces, but Kwon Alexander is a huge step in the right direction.
Yeah, and like I said, Patrick Willis was an 11th overall pick. Patrick Willis balled out in college. Patrick Willis balled out. He was deserving of a first-round pick. Navarro Bowman, you could never tell me that you knew that those two pairing up were going to become the linebacker tandem that they did. Never. Nobody in their right mind can tell me Navarro Bowman was going to be who Navarro Bowman ended up being in the middle of his career, which Patrick Willis made Navarro Bowman who he is. Navarro Bowman was never a true leader. He was never the best linebacker in college, and he was never the best linebacker in the NFL. Him and Patrick Willis together made a good duo. But Navarro Bowman had a shitty-ass college career. So you couldn't tell me that they were going to be what they were.
The late third-round pick. And that's the thing, too, is like even after Patrick Willis retired and Bowman was coming off a major injury, we still had Bowman and Chris Borland, and they performed well, too. Those guys were admirable considering what was going on through that, all that dysfunction back then. So there's no reason to say that Warner and Alexander can't be like those guys at all.
No, exactly. And like I said, I'm not comparing and saying Fred Warner is going to be Navarro Bowman and Kwon Alexander is going to be Patrick Willis. Don't get me mixed up. I'm just saying that we can have a good linebacking core like they were. Not saying they're going to perform like Patrick Willis and they're going to perform like Navarro Bowman. So don't take it that way. I'm just saying when you get two linebackers that play hand in hand, head in head, communication to communication, it becomes one on the field. I think that's what Fred Warner and Kwon Alexander, at the age that they are, they're going to grow together. They both have speed. They're both pretty much the same type of linebacker. We could even move Kwon to middle linebacker and move Fred Warner to Will, where he played in college. So if you don't forget, Fred Warner was not a middle linebacker. So he's playing middle linebacker. And everybody was like, oh, why we draft a linebacker here? They did the same thing with him. It's just, you guys got to watch tape, man.
Kwon Alexander was actually the Mike in Tampa Bay, too, with Levante David, who was the Will.
Right, that's what I'm saying. He was the Mike.
Both guys were interchangeable. Both great linebackers. But Kwon played both Mike and Will, and I wouldn't be surprised if that transition happens next season.
Right. Let me check the chat real quick because I haven't gotten in here yet. Ali says y'all should see Kwon was also good at LSU. Yeah, he was great at LSU.
Yeah, we've seen that.
Glenn Wyatt said a healthy Kwon is way better than a Reuben Foster. He's younger than Reuben Foster, like Anthony said. I don't think you can compare the two because one was a head case and one isn't. So I don't even think you can compare the two.
I would argue in ball talent, they were both pretty similar players. They both could be very similar players, but one has a better off-field mentality than the other.
Right, better head on his shoulders. DeVink 34. Neither Willis or Bowman will ever cover like 48, not even close, which is true. These two guys are way good in coverage because they're fast. It's a whole different league nowadays. Exactly. He said different league. Casey says he's not wrong about the linebacker duo thing. Warner and Alexander are just different style linebackers, more modern hybrid types. Exactly. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to say that they are better than Bowman or Willis, but they have a chance to become something together as a duo. Exactly. I'm glad somebody understood what I was saying there. Devin White is a butt kiss just like Pat. I don't know what that means. David, don't be mad. No. Bowman is a traitor, went to the Raiders. I'm not going to comment on that. Richard Gonzalez said Patrick Willis in that draft class was the best linebacker, and we have not had a linebacker like that. He was a monster. Yes, Patrick Willis was a monster of a linebacker. Bowman outshined Willis in tackles, though. Yes, because Willis would go on more coverage than Bowman would, because Bowman couldn't cover worth a dookie. Who went in the third round? I know that
Bowman was a third round pick.
Yeah, I don't know if he was talking to me or somebody in the chat. The Bucs wanted to keep Kwon Alexander, and they couldn't afford to keep him, so he's wanted by the Jets, and John Lynch made a smooth move to get him. Live with it, so-called faithful bandwagon fans. That's from Ray. Draft Devin and move Fred to Will. You don't even need to draft Devin because, like Anthony was just saying, Kwon Alexander actually played the Mike linebacker in Tampa. So he can move over.
Now at this point, I know we don't need Devin White, but imagine those three, man. Gosh.
Oh, I know. I love Devin White too.
Bosa's the priority, though. Bosa needs to be the priority, even if we add an edge.
Right. Bowman. I didn't say Bowman wasn't a beast in the NFL, but Patrick Willis definitely made who Navarro Bowman was. Malcolm Smith can kick rocks. I totally agree. What do you think we are going to do with the number 2 pick? I'll get to that in a second. Don't get me twisted. I respect the Niners tradition, but totally don't get the garbage play over the years. All right, I don't know what that's for. Probably something in the chat. All right, I think I'm caught up now. Nick, what's our next move? All right, David Royce says, Nick, what's our next move? And who do we sign tomorrow? Anthony, what are your thoughts? What is the Niners' next move? Let's play fantasy GM here. What is your next move? Realistically, or you could just say what you hope the Niners do.
Realistically, I think edge should be the priority to add over safety. As if I was a GM, I would go after one of the more low-key free agent edge position guys like Ziggy Ansah or like Shaq Barrett, Shane Ray. You know, those kind of guys are the people I want to go after. I think everyone screams for safety. We need safety. We need DBs. We need ball hawking type guys. And we do. But you're asking guys to try to be ball hawks when they're generally put in bad situations to go after the ball. Because our front four can't get after the quarterback. They can only pressure. It's a huge difference when you take 2 seconds off of a DB to cover a guy versus adding 2 seconds. And our DBs were getting burned out there because our front four couldn't get any sacks. They could only get, quote, pressures, which everyone loves. Everyone wants pressures. We need sacks. And we're going to get a sack artist in free agency. I really, really think we do. And we need it more than anything. Whether it is Ziggy Ansah. At this point, I don't care. I want an edge guy. I want a sack artist. I don't care who the name is. I don't care where he comes from. Whether it is Ziggy Ansah or Mike's guy, Preston Smith. I'm starting to kind of grow onto that more. The guy would be a great addition. We need an edge, though. I think if we added an edge and we didn't ignore safety, but maybe added a depth piece rather, I think the turnover rate would be a lot more beneficial with adding an edge guy rather than the safety. That's my opinion. I like the idea of adding Earl Thomas, but I would make do with an edge guy much better than a DB.
All right, so I see Mike just pop back in. One of the guys was like, Mike's creeping on video. I told him Mike's working late tonight. He's on call. So, Mike, I know, are you driving right now? So I know you can't look at the video, but the question in the room was, what do you think is the Niners' next move? So I'm going to let you go ahead and talk about that.
I might not be on long because of the background noise, so if it's too much, you guys let me know. But you said, what's the Niners' next move? Is that what you said? So we got linebacker. I'm not one of the guys that thinks safety is a huge need for the team. I would like this to go after edge. And it's going to depend on the type of guy that they're talking about getting in free agency. We shouldn't overreact if the Niners don't get a name on day one. They might be going after day 2 or day 3 type guys. So we shouldn't overreact if that's the case. But I'm sure we will. I would also like to see them bring in some more wide receivers. We have a couple of we have 5th round picks. Well, Pettis is a 2nd round pick, right? But you exclude Pettis, we have a 5th round pick. We have a 7th round pick. We have an undrafted guy. Who else? Who are our other wide receivers? That was Pettis. That was Taylor. That was Bourne. That was James. We have Marquise Goodwin. I mean, that's really all of the guys that took snaps last year, right? Did I miss any wide receivers that took snaps last year?
Max McCaffrey took a special team snap.
Right. I think Stephen Dunbar Jr. actually got a snap also. But I don't remember if it was on a play or if it was in. Either way, my point is I would like for them to bring in some more depth at the wide receiver position also. I don't know if there's any day one wide receiver guys that the Niners are going to go after. I don't think we need anybody that would be considered a day one. A lot of people are going to say, what's the guy's name? Curse or Tate? I don't think the Niners need those kind of guys. Um, but I could see us going through a lull, kind of a period where we're not doing anything, except for if we're trying to pull off one of these trades. I owe everybody an apology. Hopefully, you guys can still hear me. And if you can't hear me, it's great because I don't like to apologize to people. But I had it on very good confidence that the Niners and one other team were the finalists in this OBJ chase. And it turns out from the same person that I heard that from, it's that the Giants are not shopping OBJ. They were listening and entertaining calls, but they're really sold on keeping him this year, and they're not going to be moving Odell Beckham Jr. So that little fantasy is over. It's not going to happen. And he said it with a lot of confidence. They are answering the phone if someone decides that they're going to call. They will answer the phone. They will hear you out, but they're not interested in losing their pick in the first round. You know how we were talking about maybe swapping first and doing something extra with it. They're not too interested in doing something like that. They want to bring him back. It's more on Gettleman. Gettleman seems to really, really like Odell Beckham Jr. and he wants him to give it another shot. They feel like that OBJ is frustrated with the quarterback situation and not knowing what the future is going to be. And that's why he wanted out. And they're trying to give him reassurances to make him more comfortable. So I owe everybody an apology. I was like super, super certain that it was the Niners or another team. And I was looking like it's going to be no one getting him. But I do think that means the Niners are looking to improve the wide receiver position. So we have to take it for what it's worth. I think right now it's wide receiver and or edge, and we could get either of those at any moment. So that's what I think it is.
Yeah, and that what you're talking about. If somebody, it said they were saying that if somebody blew them away. Now last year they wanted 2 first-round picks for OBJ. So if somebody comes in and blows them away, we can obviously say if you're going to give up 2 first-round picks, you could probably get OBJ, but I don't see us doing that. I wouldn't do that. So because you're only hurting your draft capital and you're hurting yourself further out. So it's not going to be, like Mike said, it won't be a switch from 2 to 6 and a third rounder or a player and a second rounder. It's going to cost you a lot. I agree with you guys both. I think edge is the most important thing that we need to go after, whether it's a Ziggy Ansah, a Preston Smith, Zadarius, Justin Houston. One of those guys, any of those guys are fine with me. I'm not sure with the moves today. This is what I was going to say. With the moves today, with the Cardinals signing Terrell Suggs as an edge rusher, that definitely puts in John Lynch's mind, do I really need to go get an edge rusher right now in free agency? Because is Nick Bosa, there's more of a chance of Nick Bosa being there. Because now you have Chandler and Suggs, and maybe now that pick becomes, if it's not really Kyler Murray, it becomes Quinnen Williams. That pick, because they need inside guys. So Nick Bosa has more of a chance of dropping to us than he did before. Maybe he was waiting to see what these guys got signed and said, hey, I don't really need to sign this guy because I can draft the guy at number 2. It's not going to cost me as much. He's going to be the future of the team. And I'm only going to have to pay him twice in 8 years. So, because he's going to get his rookie contract being a second overall pick in the first round. Plus, he's going to get a big deal first, and then another probably big deal after that 4 or 5 years. So, I think there's more of a chance of Nick Bosa dropping to us than there was before. Even because I'm not that skeptical on Kyler Murray stuff. But now that they signed Terrell Suggs in free agency, and they have Chandler, and I think they need middle rush, I think the pick's going to be Quinnen Williams.
Yeah, I wanted to comment on that too. With Quinnen, if if the Terrell Suggs signing goes through, this edge class is so deep, they don't need to address edge with their first pick right away. I know it's just speculating, but they could go after a guy like Ja'Kai Polite in the second round, or Montez Sweat if he falls, Jalen Ferguson. They have second round edge options too that are easily first round options as well. So I think that totally opens the door for the Niners to go after Bosa.
David Roy says, just get Houston and draft Allen. Draft Allen.
I'm sorry. I don't agree with what you said. And I'm not here to like argue with you or particular. I saw someone else say that earlier, that between Chandler and Suggs, they don't need to, like, if they were going to get Bosa. Listen, Terrell Suggs will be 37 before the season is over. He's not enough to stop them from drafting Bosa at 1. If they had Bosa on their board and you signed Terrell Suggs, you don't say, oh, well, I guess my edge rushing problem is over. Like, you might get him for 1 year. He'll be 37, dude. Like, it's not, if it was someone else, then maybe I could see that. But he's not. I think he's there for depth, and maybe even you want him to teach someone like Bosa. Like, I wouldn't say that he makes them out of the Nick Bosa market at all. I just don't see that.
I agree with you that he could teach him, but you also have to, if the contract's more than a year, that's not their plan. If it's a 3-year deal, that they're planning on keeping him. Which I don't know.
I don't know if Suggs would last for 3 years.
I don't either, but I'm not saying that he's going to last 3 years. I'm just saying, like, we don't know what their mindset is, because Suggs has been playing 19 years in the league, I think. And I mean, there's a point where Mike makes where he can teach Bosa, but I don't think you're going to make your number 1 overall pick sit. Like, I just don't. That's the only reason I say Quinnen Williams, because unless they're really going Kyler Murray.
That's why I think they could address edge in the second round too. But Mike does make a point though. But at the same time, you know, it's like our situation. We draft Solomon Thomas 3rd overall for him to sit on the bench. I don't know if Arizona would do the same thing with Bosa.
Yeah, well, I don't think our plan was to have Solomon Thomas sitting on the bench. I think we just misutilized him and didn't put him in the right position, and we tried to teach him a new position. That was what the whole thing was, and that was the whole thing that we got into. Me and Mike used to get into the arguments and debates about Josh Allen over Nick Bosa, because you have to teach him to play a new position. So, but, you know, we're not going to get into the whole Josh Allen, Nick Bosa talk, but like you said, if Bosa's not there, you still have that ability to trade that pick down and go somewhere within the top 10 and still get a Brian Burns, probably a Ferguson, a Montez Sweat, positions like that, if you do address edge in free agency. But if you sign a Houston, I don't think you're drafting edge in the first round.
Really? You don't think that if we take Houston that we don't take edge in the first round?
I would hope they do, but I'm just saying I don't think that they. I think they would wait until the second pick and take an edge.
Why? Why?
Why? Because it's going to cost you a ton of money to get Justin Houston.
Yeah, but that's money. That's so what? That's what we have all the cap space for, so we can spend. If you're saying that if we get Justin Houston, you don't want Nick Bosa anymore?
I'm not saying that I don't want them. I'm saying with the way that John Lynch drafts, if he takes a Justin Houston and pays him 5 years, $60 million, he's not paying another first round guy that he's going to have to pay outrageous money to, as in that same position for the next 5 years. He's going to go with it. He's going to go with a lower pass rush guy, but he's not going to take him at 8. He'll take somebody else.
So if we take Houston, you think we trade down?
Yeah.
Man, that's interesting. I don't know. I still think we need 2 edges.
No, and I agree with you.
I think if we take Houston, I would much like. So many people seem to have this like addiction to want to garner more picks. I think if we make the right key signings, I think the Niners aren't really in the need of a position to trade down. We can address whatever we need in the second round early, just like we can in the first round. And I think getting a more secure, safer pick like Bosa would be a better solution than trading down. I wouldn't mind going after someone like Brian Burns or Montez Sweat, but I feel being able to go after Bosa would secure the D-line. We got Kwon Alexander, so that secures the linebacking core. And assuming we get a safety, that secures our safety spot. So I think Bosa, if it falls into place, would be the final piece on that D-line. And that already opens up our second round pick to someone like wide receiver or O-line, you know?
If the Niners get a Justin Houston, I think they go with Josh Allen and make Josh Allen a Sam linebacker. That's exactly what I think they do. I don't think they go a true edge guy. They'll use Justin Houston as the down guy and put Josh Allen as the Sam linebacker. Then you have Allen, Warner, and Alexander as your 3 linebackers.
Man, it's definitely a big upgrade to have someone that can do both things. But man, I don't know how this fan base would feel about that.
Why? They all wanted to draft Josh Allen at number 2 overall anyway. So now you're signing your edge problem in a 30-year-old who's going to be 30 or 31 for 5 years. That's 36. You can play till in the NFL till you're 36, and you get Josh Allen and put him at a Sam linebacker where he's a pretty much 4-3 outside linebacker, and you play him in his regular position. You already sewn up the other side of linebacker, and then you have your edge guy, you have your Sam linebacker, you have your Will linebacker or Mike, whoever you want to use him as, and then you go after a wide receiver in a second, and you get a safety in free agency.
I gotta let Mike talk on this one. I'll hand them.
I don't want to get involved in the moving Josh Allen to Sam conversation.
But Mike, it's not moving him. That's what he played.
That's not what we need. We're not drafting a Sam linebacker at 2 overall. It doesn't make any sense. No one should be doing that. The position of Sam linebacker is not that important to draft at 2 overall. If you're picking up Josh Allen at 2, you're putting him on the edge. But that's not what I thought you didn't want to get into Josh Allen talk. So I actually realized what I think the Niners' next move is going to be. While you guys were talking, I think it's going to be cornerback. I think it's going to be corner because I think the guys that the Niners are interested in are far few between. Like I don't think that they're looking at a ton of different corners that are available. A report came out tonight that they were looking at Pierre Desir, which is someone that we wanted to look at last year before he signed his 1-year deal. Sorry about the noise. We wanted him to look at him before, and then there was one other guy from the Broncos, or was that
Bradley,
a safety? Roby. Yeah. It was Roby, and he's got ties obviously to Woods. So I think that's the next move. It might not be their top priority, but if we're predicting the next move, I think that's it. I think it's helping the secondary.
So you think that we're going to go linebacker and you think we're going to go corner next? And man, that's going to piss the fan base off.
Why? What's not to like about that? They all know we need help. Half of the fans hate Ahkello Witherspoon, and then you have a few crazy. I won't even throw anybody in the butt. You got crazy guys like me who think that Richard Sherman's overrated, and that he was a lot worse than what people think he was last year. This guy wants to stop next to the cop and ask him a question. Bro, keep driving. I'm on the phone, like on video. Go.
I'm going to take you off the screen so he can't see you. You're good. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. But yeah, so like personally, I think that if we bring in some competition for the outside corner position, I'm not saying replace a Kello. I'm not saying replace a Richard Sherman. I'm saying bring in competition, someone to push those guys, both of them, for that starting role. It's a win-win, no matter how you look at it. And those are two names that could absolutely do that. They absolutely could do that. And we need the help at corner. We do. And you know me, Nick, I've been one of those guys that say if we improve the edge, then the secondary naturally improves and things like that. But no matter who you are, edge doesn't get there every single time. You look at the Eagles defensive line, you look at the Broncos defensive line, look at the Browns defensive line. Edge doesn't get there every single time. So you guys are still going to have to cover. And I want those guys that when they're called upon, they do it and they do it well. So I think corner is going to be their next move. It's one of few people that are out there. We have the means to do it and do it aggressively. I think that's the next move that they make.
I don't even think adding one of those guys would be competition. I think they'd be instant starters. Really, I mean, Akello Weatherspoon comes with a lot of question marks, and I think Desir or Roby would honestly be an upgrade over Sherman. I like Sherman a lot, but he showed so many deficiencies that make you question how can he come back from next year. And I would love a guy like Bradley Roby or Pierre Desir to bring in some kind of security blanket for a cornerback unit that has a lot of question marks, you know? I mean, outside of A1 and DJ Reed, who are slot corners, Tavarius Moore, we don't really know much about yet. Akello Witherspoon came with his lumps, and Sherman came with his lumps also. So I honestly, kind of hot takey here, but I honestly think adding Desir or Roby, they could honestly fight for the cornerback one spot over Sherman. I would much rather one of those two guys be our first corner over Sherman.
Nick, can you guys hear me?
Now we can. Yeah, you're off mute now.
I don't know if you've ever commented on Richard Sherman's play last year. We'll put you on the spot. I want to know how you feel he performed last year because, by the way, I don't think that he was horrible. I think
we've already talked about this
plenty of
times. Yeah, we've already talked about this plenty of times. We've gotten into arguments because you argued with me and I said, why are people not throwing to him? And you said, I don't know, because there is times where he breaks down in film, but the team still doesn't throw the ball to his way. Because we're like, why are they not throwing there? If they're obviously watching tape, they should be throwing there because Richard Sherman can't swing his hips. He always makes the same move. He goes to the outside, guys go to the inside. He goes to the inside, the guy goes to the outside. There was a lot of breakdown in this film, but for some reason, no other team tested him. So I don't understand why they didn't test him because I don't know. Because if you obviously watch film, you can see that you can beat Richard Sherman to the outside. But for some odd reason, everybody was testing Akello or testing Maben or whoever was else up. They were testing them instead. So I don't know why they weren't testing Sherman. I don't know. There were breakdown in his films, but I'm not going to say that Richard Sherman is not still a number one corner in this league because he's coming back from an injury an entire year. Because he definitely played a lot better the last 6-7 games of the year than he did in the beginning.
Now, I don't know how many rumors that you guys have talked about. The Niners have been associated with a couple of guys. One of the bigger names out there in the free agent market is Le'Veon Bell. The Niners have been attached to him. And now, I think the Niners are going to be attached to a lot of people. But what are your guys' thoughts on not so much Le'Veon Bell? I think everyone has a general idea of Le'Veon Bell and what he could bring to the table. But what would that mean for a guy like Jerick McKinnon or Matt Breida? If the Niners were indeed interested in it, that's something we can't prove. But if they were, let's just operate and do this under the assumption that they are. What do you guys think that means for either a Breida or a McKinnon? Or does it mean nothing and the rest of the guys get going? Like, what do you guys think?
I don't know if the Niners would roll if we go after Le'Veon, I don't know if they'd want to roll with Jerick McKinnon on the type of contract that he is at second string running back. Because then he becomes the most overpaid second string running back in all of football. So if theoretically, if the Niners go after Le'Veon Bell, then I think that Jerick McKinnon either gets cut or traded. I really think he either gets cut or traded. And I would like him as a second option, but Jerick's always been the second option his whole career. And we still haven't seen him in the showcase yet. Now, I think they give him OTAs and they give him the preseason to see what he's got. But if we bring in Bell, then I honestly think Breida's spot is a lot more safe than Jerick McKinnon, really. But overall, though, with our running back core, I want no part in Le'Veon Bell. I really don't. We have so much more pressing needs on defense and even wide receiver rather than running back. And we know that Shanahan has said, if you have the opportunity to go after elite talent, you do it. But if it's at the right price, if it's at the right cost. And Le'Veon Bell just isn't at the right price or the right cost. And we've seen what Shanahan can do with running backs. He can make so many guys out of nothing. And Le'Veon Bell would just be more of a sure thing in Shanahan's scheme rather than Breida and Jet, in my opinion. Because if Shanahan can get the most out of Breida and even get the most out of Jeff Wilson and Alfred Morris, I'm sure he can do it with Le'Veon Bell. But if you can do it with other guys, then I think it's no problem. Don't go after Bell. Not at that money.
He's gonna want at least $17 million a year. Le'Veon Bell. He turned down 14.5 last year with Pittsburgh. That's what he was not going to play for. $14.5 million. They wanted to sign him to a long-term deal. The likes of Le'Veon Bell in this offense would be sick. You could even run, and I know you guys are going to laugh at me for this, but you could even run 3-back sets with Le'Veon Bell on this field. You literally can do it. Do I think it's even possible that Le'Veon Bell becomes a Niner? No. I don't think so. They spent too much money. If Jerick McKinnon was in year 2 and you could get rid of him through his contract, like you can once his contract is done through year 2, I think it's year 2, 2 years and pretty much opt out. And he already played and he didn't perform in the year 2, I could see maybe next year adding a running back like a Le'Veon Bell. But I don't think they go out and spend the money now, not knowing what they don't have in McKinnon, who they spent big on, who had a fluke injury, and the way that Matt Breida performed, because everybody can't sit here and say he didn't. Well, he was hurt, he was this, he was that. He still overperformed what any of Niners fans thought he was going to do. So he fits in Kyle Shanahan's system. Breida is more than a suitable back to run in this system. And why go out and spend a ton of money on Le'Veon Bell? Would it be possible? Yeah, I mean, obviously he'd fit right in with the system. I just don't see the Niners doing that.
I think Bell would be. All right, so there's a couple of things. First, Nick, can you tell me what Anthony was saying? Because I couldn't hear anything Anthony was saying. And he looked so passionate. His head was going, his shoulders were going. I saw fingers a couple of times, but I had no idea. It's because of how loud my background is. I can hear you a lot better. So can you tell me what Anthony was saying about Bell? And I heard him say something about like he's always been a number 2. So I'm assuming he was talking about McKinnon or maybe even Breida. And I heard him say that we've never seen him. We haven't even seen him in there yet. So I know he's talking about McKinnon there. But what was the general thought? Like, did he say anything else?
He was just saying how McKinnon has. We don't really know what McKinnon is because he's always been a second back. You never really seen him perform as a number 1. He said he thinks Le'Veon Bell fits this system perfect to what Kyle Shanahan wants, but he doesn't really see the 49ers going after him. He said if they did, he would use Jerick McKinnon as either just a plain out release or trade bait. What else, Anthony? Just
basically that you don't need to keep the second. You don't need to keep the second. How do I say it? You don't need an overpaid second string running back. Is what I'm saying. Especially with Bell, who has a lot better skill set than Jarek. But I was saying that Bell would be a nice addition, but you don't need to go after him because of what Shanahan can do with any running back. And I'm not Jarek McKinnon won't fit the system at all, but I'm just saying that with the uncertainty at it, that Bell would be just as good, if not a better option than Jarek. It's just that Bell should not be a priority addition whatsoever. He'd be a nice compliment, but not a priority. Like, from what I saw, and I'm going off of what I saw with Jarek in Minnesota, I would much rather Matt Breida be our running back one than Jarek McKinnon. I'm going to say that. I know Jarek fits what Shanahan wants, but I would much rather Breida over Jarek. Much rather.
But would you much rather want Le'Veon over Breida?
Oh, yeah, I'd want Le'Veon, definitely, but I'm totally fine with Breida. I'd much rather have the running back who gets paid a minimum salary do the same things just as good as a $17 million running back would.
Now, Tevin Coleman is looking to get $7.5 or $8 million a year.
So, Nick, I know you mentioned Le'Veon's his contract before and how he turned down 14.5 from the Steelers. That's something that the NFL is so good at painting narratives against players. So technically, yeah, that's true. That's what his entire contract averaged out to be. Just like what Kwon Alexander's average contract is, like, what is it, 13 or 14 million? That's not really what his contract is. You get what I'm saying? You know how, like, it's 54 million, but only 27 million guaranteed. The Steelers didn't offer him 14 million a year guaranteed. They offered him that contract that was for an average of 14.5 million, but it was only for like 27 million guaranteed over the term of the contract. So that's why he turned that down. Same exact thing with Antonio Brown. He had no guaranteed money. So I think, like, especially the people coming out of the Steelers organization, the Steelers don't value skilled players. They keep Ben Roethlisberger, they keep the offensive line, and they want to go through defense. That's it. You see wide receivers come and go out of there all the time. They don't care. You see that they didn't have Bell, and James Conner came in and he was putting up decent numbers also. So the Steelers don't value those positions. They don't put the guaranteed money in there. And so a lot of times people get the notion that their players are ungrateful or things like that. Like, that's like the players want to be compensated for their production. That's all. But I think that if the Niners are really interested in Bell, I would have really mixed feelings. I think Matt Breida is a better runner in our system than what Bell would be. I think Bell would be a better pass catcher, but I think Matt Breida, because he's more decisive and he hits the holes faster, where I can literally picture Bell getting the ball in his hand and kind of just like, and then going. You know, like I can see him doing that, and I don't think that would work in our system.
Bell is definitely a more patient runner than Matt Breida. He doesn't have as much acceleration as soon as he gets the ball because he's looking for that gap. You would see, and people would say, oh, my God, Le'Veon Bell is such a patient runner. But with our offensive line, that wouldn't work here, where Breida gets the snap and goes. Like, he just hits the hole. And he's smaller, so he squeezes through a lot of tighter holes. Not that Bell is a lot bigger, but Breida's way faster. He can still run between tackles. If he can get that ankle injury under control and stay healthy, I think he's an easy 1,000-yard-a-year back in Matt Breida. Go ahead.
So if it was true, because that's what the little exercise, if it was true, do you think they're keeping all three or they're getting rid of somebody? And if you think they're getting rid of somebody, then who do you think they would be getting rid of?
If they sign Bell? Oh,
Well, not even if they sign him. Not even if they sign him. Like let's like fake play GM, right? If you're looking to acquire him, do you think that they're doing that and plan on keeping Bell, Breida, and McKinnon, or do you think that they're looking to acquire him and get rid of one of the two?
dude, I have no clue because I don't know. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say Bell's not worth 17 million a year or whatever his guaranteed. Let's just say he gets 40 million guaranteed. I'm not going to say he's not worth getting what he's going to get paid, but I don't know what I have in Jerick McKinnon. I don't know what I fully have in McKinnon and Breida on the field at the same time. Where signing a guy to 40 million in a need that's really not a need on this team and taking away from adding somewhere else, I just don't see it. Like, I don't even if we're playing GM and I was to sign if I were to sign Bell, because all of them are the same type of backs, Breida, McKinnon, and Bell. They all can line up in the slot. They all can line up as a receiver. They all catch the ball out of the backfield. They all run between tackles. They all got speed. They're pretty much the same type of back. Now, obviously,
you don't think running back is a need?
Not at 17.5 million a year, no.
No. I'm not worried about contract in general. You don't think running back is a need on this team? The position.
I can't answer that honestly because I don't know what McKinnon is. So I can't answer that honestly. If McKinnon comes out and balls out, it could be we don't need a running back because Matt Breida is not going to be taking as many snaps, and they have a chance of staying healthy. It's a two-back system. When you go down to a one-back system and then you're at tier 3, tier 4 players, and Breida's the workhorse, it's harder for him to stay healthy because he's a smaller dude. But if he's running half the snaps and still averaging 8 yards a carry, and McKinnon's averaging 5 yards a carry, then what do you need a back for? So I can't answer that honestly because I don't know what we have in the other position on the roster until I see him play.
I want to say real quick that I think the low-key point Mike is trying to get at, this is what I think, is that this running back core is so boomer bust. It is absolutely boomer bust. And I mean, we don't know if Jet can stay healthy. We don't know if Breida can stay healthy. And we honestly have seen we don't know if Wilson can stay healthy. So we're bringing in all these UDFAs at running back. And like I said, Shanahan can make them work. But there's no security at running back. That's the issue. And I think if we did bring in Le'Veon Bell, I think we would have all the security in the world at that position for it to say, oh, we're fine at that spot. It should be fine. But I'm kind of on your boat too, Nick. It's tough for me to get an opinion on it because we don't know what we've seen from Jet. We've somewhat seen Breida, but Breida has kind of proven that even with a nagging ankle injury, he's not a total workhorse back like Le'Veon Bell would be. That's the thing, is that none of our backs are true workhorse backs, unlike Bell. And I just think that's an issue because we all know the NFL is all about next man up, but we're going to be cycling through all these running backs, and it's just going to be an endless loop. The part of me that wants Bell is the part that says I want a running back who can stay consistent and do it all on the field and not have to come off every 10 snaps. Because Jet was like that in Minnesota, and Breida has been like that in San Francisco. But there's that also part of me that if Jet and Breida are healthy, we don't need to create a need where we don't need it, you know? So Le'Veon Bell is like fixing something that isn't broken, but you're not sure if it's going to break or not, you know? I think that's the situation with Bell, honestly.
And like I said,
if that's what Mike's trying to get at, I think.
Yeah, I just think overall right now we can't say that running back is a dire need for this team compared to other positions that we need to address. So why am I going to go when I don't know what I'm getting out of McKinnon yet or McKinnon? Why am I going to go out and spend 17.5 or 40 million guaranteed on a running back position when you can easily have a suitable duo and use that money elsewhere to make your team better?
All right, but that's not what I'm asking. I'm not the one who said that they're interested in them. That's what the report got. That's what the report was that came out today. So my thing is, why are they interested in him, and what is the counter move, if there's a counter move at all? That's what I want to try to get from you guys.
Jet goes and Breida stays. That would be my move. That would be my absolute move. Jet should go. I'm not overpaying someone like Jet to be my second string running back. I'm sorry.
Without ever seeing him take a snap.
Honestly, Breida is so much more proven. I don't want $5, $6, $7 million to be my second string.
But he's not gonna be a second string in this offense. You got to get that first and second string out. They are going to be on the field. I'm telling you, Jerick McKinnon and Matt Breida will be on the field a lot together next year. Can guarantee it. If Le'Veon comes here, it would be Le'Veon, Jerick, and Breida as probably a backup. I don't think they even get rid of one of them because of all the injuries with running backs. Le'Veon Bell hasn't been the healthiest running back in the league either. So Matt Breida still can play special teams. Maybe he becomes a punt returner or a kick returner. And we carry three.
Can't do that to Breida, Nick. I'm sorry.
But there's still ways that they can utilize him. We carry three running backs anyway. Why would you have to get rid of one?
So then can you guys hear me? Am I muted?
Yeah, you sound
hear you.
Oh, okay. So then, Nick, why would the Niners be interested in Bell, and what's the plan then? So I can't say that I agree with Anthony, but I get it that he thinks that's what they would do. If they're looking for Bell, then it's like, all right, McKinnon's got to go. Bell wasn't available when we got McKinnon. Now he's available. All right, well, let's go ahead and cut ties and keep it moving. How do you make sense of them possibly being interested in Bell? What's the move?
But that's what I'm saying. I don't think that we would drop any running back.
Oh, okay. So you would keep all three of them.
We carry three running backs now. What's the difference?
The difference is the level of talent in them all.
I understand that, but I just wouldn't put it past Kyle Shanahan to use with injuries at the running back position. Even with Matt Breida, you're carrying three running backs, so you would have Breida, McKinnon, and Bell, and Bell and McKinnon would be your primary backs, and Breida can spell with them.
Whichever one of those two that needs to come off.
Exactly. Okay. And you could use Matt Breida still plays special teams right now. So he didn't play a lot last year because of the fact that he was the go-to back. So so now you have three running backs. Your Mostert tender and stuff like that. Breida becomes that Mostert guy and your spell bug to where, okay, I'm going to change it up. He can do the same exact things. So Bell needs to come out for a minute. McKinnon needs to come out for a minute. Breida goes in. When Breida needs to come out, McKinnon goes in. When Bell needs to come out, Breida goes in. Like,
so you're running the system, and you're never missing a beat. Your playbook doesn't change then
at all.
Who the back is
at all.
You can't do that with who do we have, like Alfred Morris last year?
Right?
You can't do that.
But when you have three running backs who are identically the same, yes, I know skill level is different between all three of them, but they're more than capable of doing what each other do.
So are you phasing out Kyle Juszczyk?
No, because there's still certain patterns you use a fullback.
You can't keep all of them, Nick. That's not possible.
We carry them now. What is the difference?
The salary is going to be the difference. We carry Mostert, who's getting pennies. We carry Breida, who's on an undrafted free agent rookie contract. You can't bring in McKinnon and Bell and Juice. Those three guys would be getting paid the top 10 of running backs. You can't keep all of them. That's not
McKinnon. Listen, McKinnon's deal can easily be opted out of next year. You're paying that for 1 year. 1 year. And if McKinnon doesn't succeed, you keep Bell and Breida, and you're still at the same amount of money you're paying with Kyle the following year.
You're going to have three players getting paid top 10 in the position on the roster.
Do you know how much you guys are acting like it's $15 million per year? Kyle Juszczyk makes $4.5 million. Breida makes pennies. McKinnon makes $5.5 million. And whatchamacallit's going to get all his full guarantees. So with all of them, you're at like 16 or 17 million, the same as another player. It's doable.
You're not at 16 or 17 million once you throw Bell in the mix. That's all I'm saying. Once
With his
Bell is in there, once
with
Bell is in that mix, you're well over $20 million a year. Bell's going to get anywhere from 13 to 16 million a year, right? You agree with that? And you just said that McKinnon's at what, 5 something?
4.5.
4.5. That's 20 already. Then you got Juice, who's getting another 5.
But you just said don't count money as 13.5 or 14 as average money. You just said that yourself. You just said that.
That's what he's going to get a year. I'm not talking about.
But I said that to you before. I said Bell won 17.5 in a year. You said you have to look at it this way. It's not actually an average a year. So you said that. So he's not going to make 17.5 that year.
No, I said that. You think you're slick.
But that's what you said.
I said that about the 14.5 million you said he turned down.
Exactly. I said he was. They gave him 14.5 a year. That was the deal. It was going to be 14.5 million paid a year. And you said no, you can't look at it that way because of the way contracts are structured. It's not actually.
Yeah, that wasn't
guaranteed money.
Right. That wasn't the average of his guaranteed. But the first year of every contract is the big one between the signing bonus and your roster bonus and all that stuff. The first year is the big year of your contract. Jimmy Garoppolo walked away with like 30+ million last year. It was his first year of his contract. But so he's gonna get the majority of it this coming year.
And that's what I just literally said that it's gonna be 1 year. I literally just said that, and then you can cut McKinnon. I literally just said that.
And my response to that was, so you're comfortable paying all of those guys, and that position group is going to be well over $20 million a year. That was my question. And then you were like, it's not that, because you said it wasn't that. I responded to your question, and I'm asking, are you comfortable doing that?
Because I am comfortable with doing that.
Okay, that's all I was asking.
Because it's not going to be Bell gets 17.5, Kyle Juszczyk gets 4.5, and McKinnon makes 5.5 or whatever it is, 4.7 or whatever it is this year, and then Breida makes 600,000. It's not. You're not going to add all that shit up, and it's going to be that year because you're already exercised. I just think if you were going to do this, the way that they're going to do it is I think they're going to keep the 3 back so they don't lose out on money. The players are already there. You already carry 3 backs, so you're going to get rid of a Mostert or whatever. Kyle Juszczyk is too big in this system as a fullback because the fullback uses in this system a ton. You heard Kyle Shannon come out and say that. It doesn't even have to specifically be Kyle Juszczyk, but the fullback in his system is one of the main priorities. So if you're paying, let's just say $18 million a year for 3 guys, that's $6 million a year broken down. Let's just say you're paying $18 million overall, or let's just say you're paying $20 million for between 4 guys. That's $5 million a year for each guy. And then when McKinnon's contract is up next year in his opt-out, if he doesn't perform, he's gone. If he does perform, you have an option to make next year and say, who do I want to keep? Breida's contract's going to be coming up. He's going to want to get paid. McKinnon's contract is an easily opt-out, and you could be easily left with Bell.
I was just trying to make sense of why the Niners would be interested in Le'Veon Bell with the backfield we already have, and I can't make sense of it.
I can't either. I mean, you just said what would I do? I don't think it's a possibility.
Just so you know, my crazy ass response is I would get rid of Juice. I think Juice is the guy that gets let go of. If we were to bring in a guy like Bell, I think that they go past happy and they want more explosion everywhere all over the field. That's the way my brain is thinking about it. I think the answer would be Juice. But that being said, I don't like now that the exercise is over, I don't think the Niners are interested in Bell because it doesn't make any sense. It's so hard to make sense of. Unless you're literally going to say, well, the McKinnon experience is over. See you later. That I can't see them doing that either.
No, I don't see them cutting McKinnon at all until he at least plays a full season with us.
Give him a full game. Shit. He hasn't done anything. That's crazy.
I think McKinnon's in this offense is going to come out and surprise the hell out of a lot of haters that don't like McKinnon.
Is McKinnon supposed to be what Bell is? That's
yes. Yeah.
He is.
Yeah, he's supposed to be. He's going to be the same as him, as the same as Tevin Coleman's, the same exact back as Le'Veon Bell is. They're all the same type of back. They all catch out of the backfield. They all are fast. They all can run the ball. Tevin Coleman, Le'Veon Bell, and
it's a little different. Frank Gore can catch out of the backfield, but he's not Le'Veon Bell. Like there's a little bit of a difference. I'm just saying, like just because your running back catches passes doesn't mean that he's a pass catching running back. I don't know. I haven't seen Jerick McKinnon enough to know that's what his specialty is. That's why I was asking: is McKinnon supposed to be like that? That wasn't like I wasn't asking a loaded question. I legitimately don't know.
I don't think Kyle's going anywhere. I think Kyle is here. I think he might even get a extension after his contract's up. He's too important to this system. For the run game and the pass game, because they run so much the same out of the same look. They run so many different plays out of the same look, and our run game would not be what it is without Kyle Juszczyk.
You say that, and then just 5 minutes ago, you were saying that Juice and Breida are going to be on the field so much together. I mean, not Juice, McKinnon and Breida are going to be on the field so much together.
Yeah, I really think that.
They're not running 3-back sets, so that means that the more they do what you just said,
I'm telling you, they're going to be split out as receivers. I'm telling you. Watch. More than you think it's going to happen. Breida was just on the other day and said the same exact thing. Said me and McKinnon will be on the field more than you guys think together. He literally said that on a podcast with, I think, KMBR. Well, Mike must have got pulled over. Anthony, what are your thoughts?
Just because I think the last bit for this Le'Veon thing is like, I would like him on the team, but with the running back unit we have, I don't think we should add him. The speculation is really weird. It is really, really weird for this to come out of nowhere, honestly. And I would rather see some type of credible sources about Le'Veon come from someone like Schefter or Ian Rapsheet or, those guys. But it's just the argument that's like, I'm not keeping someone who is owed $5.5-6 million as a backup. That's just my only issue is if we brought Le'Veon Bell is that I don't want to pay a backup who's going to carry the ball 5 times and catch the ball twice in maybe 3 games. Just $6 million. That's the only issue I have with it. That's the only thing I would have a problem with if we brought in Le'Veon Bell. I would like Bell, Jerick, Breida, and I think 3-back sets would work great. But at that point, Jerick would be so scheme dependent. It's not worth to have him at $6 million just to do a handful of things.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there's any interest, but let's move on from the Bell stuff because what was I gonna say? Oh, Mike's back. Hey, Mike, did you get pulled over or something? You had to jump out real quick.
I got a phone call. That's what happens when you get caught in your patient's driveway. They want to know if you're okay. So I wanted to jump back in and say I'll talk to you guys later. But yeah, I mean, I wasn't like trying to set anybody up or like start an argument. I don't think that we're interested in Bell because I think another thing that makes him as good as he is the quantity of touches. 400 touches a year. Like he's never going to get that in a Shanahan system. Even if he was the only back here, he's not getting 400 touches a year. That doesn't make any sense. So that means that his value to the Steelers at 400 touches a year is drastically diminished coming to this system. So it just wouldn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to demand the ball so much. And, like you said, but he had, I mean, what was his last year? 1,300 all-purpose yards or all-purpose scrimmage yards. So, I mean, he's definitely going to want to be, he's not going to come here like, oh, you're not going to give me the ball 200 times for $17 million. But I don't know. I don't know why this the talk is like that with the Niners because I never thought I'd hear the Niners name in Bell. But either way, let's move on. That's enough about Bell. Anthony has to do something real quick. So are you staying on or you have to jump?
No, I gotta go. I got one more patient to take care of tonight. So
all right. Well, I'll talk with the chat while he's going.
All right, and then I know you just said something about like scrimmage yards. One of you guys just said something about his total yards, right?
Yeah, his scrimmage yards is like 1367 or something.
No.
Or 2000 something.
He had
2167 or something like that.
He had 1291 rushing and 655 receiving for a total of 6,489. So 1981.
Yeah, so almost 2,000 yards.
19. Yeah, so he was just under 2,000 yards.
Either way, it's a fun fantasy, but I highly doubt that it happens.
Yeah, it didn't make much sense. I saw that report and I was like, I can't. I tried to make sense of it all day in my head, and I couldn't see it. Maybe someone in the chat has something figured out, but I don't know. I don't know. So, all right, man. I'll if I get time and you're still on, I'll hop back on with you. If not, man, thanks for doing this, man.
Yeah, man.
All right.
Let's talk, guys. Anthony had to jump out real quick too. So, what's going on? What do you guys got questions for me? Sign Terrell Williams and draft Bosa. I really think Terrell Williams is going to go to Cleveland. That's the way it's looking. Is Terrell Williams going to Cleveland? I don't think he's going to come here. Rhodes, what's going on, Rhodes? I just noticed that was you. Joyner's a good safety, but he's going to Oakland. Yes, Joyner is going to Oakland. That's already supposedly a done deal. Trent Brown went to Oakland as well. Christine and HaHa should get married. Sign HaHa, Clinton Dix, draft Nick Bosa, and trade for OBJ. We already talked about the OBJ trade. I don't see the Niners doing that. It's going to cost them at least 2 ones from the way that the Giants organization is talking. They need to really, really be blown away. And I'm not going to give away 2 ones for him. So, edge guys. So we talked about edge guys that are left. You got Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith, Justin Houston would probably be my top 3 of who I would go after. 49ers very quiet and don't leak. Remember getting Lynch. Yeah, Lynch, it's been really quiet. There was a report on Bleacher Report about Kwon Alexander. But other than that, it's been really, really quiet. Richard Gonzalez, Nick, do you believe in your opinion if the 49ers have a 4-12 season once again, this will be the last year of Shanahan and Lynch? No. They have 6-year contracts. It really depends. If the team is healthy and the team goes 4-12, I could probably see that happening. But if there's injuries that set us back like it did last year, you got to remember, last year wasn't all on Kyle and John. There was positions that we had positional players to play the positions, but injuries really killed us. I mean, we've had over 100 go on the IR in the last 4 years. Injuries, Rhodes, I just heard, I'll get back to you on that. Injuries really put a stall on the growth of this team. It has benefited the team in one way as well, to where our starters get injured and a draft kid jumps in, or a tier 2 guy or a tier 3 guy, third player. I mean, you look at it this year, we were playing with practice squad guys, hence Nick Mullins, Greg Maben. Every single person of our practice squad was called up last year in the 2018 season and actually took NFL snaps. So that's just a show right there that our team was injured a lot last year. They weren't completely healthy, which puts a burden on the coaching staff, and it also puts a burden on your growth. Now, it's good for reasons like you can see what you have in those guys, in those young guys, in actual game time. The game moves so much faster than practice or OTAs or training camps or practice squad guys. So that's a benefit to the Niners, being able to see what they have in those back guys like, DJ Reed, we got to see a lot. Greg Maben, Nick Mullins. And it comes out to Nick Mullins is better than CJ Beathard, which I knew from the beginning. But it comes out that the fans see that now. Us as fans watching see like, oh, who's that guy? And then you start to follow them, and then you see how they progress and how they get better. So it definitely helps the team out with those type of things. So for your question, I don't think if we have a 4-12 season, John Lynch's case is closed. If he goes in and he if the team is completely healthy and we go 4-12, there may be a chance. If there's injuries and stuff like that stalling us, I don't think there's a chance. Late night for Niners fans, huh? Yeah, it's 12:20 in the morning here for me. Rhodes, I'm serious, dude. I have something awesome to say about y'all. Ricardo, I don't know who Ricardo is. Ray Bans, why can't we trade for OBJ? Rams are making moves. Why can't we give up 2 first rounds? Fucking get OBJ, sign haha Nick and Nick Bosa. Ray Bans, I just think the Rams have a lot of positions that are there already, which they did last year with their cap and stuff like that. But you got to remember, they're making these moves right now, but the next year or two, they have to sign Gurley. They have to sign Goff. They got to sign, they're going to lose Sue this year because they don't have no money. They're making some play on positions like Joyner. They lost their safety who went to and whatchamacallit came back and went there. So it's just stupid to me in my eyes to give up 2 ones for OBJ because we're not just a one receiving playmaker away from a Super Bowl. There's other needs on this team, and you lose that draft capital, and you can't you better yourself. So get me Dessert or Roby. I'm definitely good with either one of those. Houston and Earl Thomas. Defense needs to be addressed, and draft Bosa. I think the defense is the most important thing on this team that needs to be addressed right now. Edge rusher, we've addressed one linebacker position, safety, and some corner depth. And offensively, I think probably a better tight end, maybe a receiver. But you got to remember, Kyle Shanahan's system, he's never really had any big receivers other than Julio Jones. And you got to remember that in his system, he schemes guys open, and he likes quick, shifty type receivers who are going to get open on and get good separation and be able to get open and quick. And that's what his offense is time based, basically. So in my eyes, pass rush is the most important thing that we need to get right now. Safety help, because we don't know what Colbert's going to do. I would love to bring in Earl Thomas to teach Adrian Colbert. Akello Witherspoon is still up in the air. I love Akello, and I think he'll be fine. I think he just had that sophomore slump. Richard Sherman's going to need to be replaced. Not this year, but eventually he's going to need to be replaced, so we got to get somebody in there. And that's it. Oh, Anthony's back. Hey. Question at Nick. What is your take on trolls in our chat room like Ricardo Weeks? It's exactly why Rambo's channel went down in views. I don't know who Ricardo Weeks is, and I haven't been paying attention to the chat. So if you guys see anything that you don't like, just let me know. You know that I try to keep an eye on the chat as much as possible. But tonight with me running the show, I haven't been able to really check the chat out. So if you're trolling in here and you're not a Niners fan, everybody, even if you're a Niners fan, keep it nice. Don't be talking shit or doing anything like that. We're all here to have a good time. And make sure you're just respectful. You treat everybody in here how you would treat your mother, pretty much. We're all here to talk, have a good time, and I will boot you if I have to. So other than that, sorry about that, guys. All right, Tony, what's up? Anthony, what's up?
Man, what I missed? It sounds like people are getting booted and we're adding corners.
Nah, nobody was booted. Somebody was saying that there was a lot of trolls in the chat room tonight, and I didn't see it because I wasn't paying attention to it. So
that happens. But right when I walked in, I heard about how there's certain guys we need to add, and I think after talking to Mike, in this order, I think it should go edge, cornerback, corner over. So I'd go edge. Safety.
So you said edge, corner over safety?
I think we need a sack artist. That's been, made very clear. But I think our corners, like Mike said, are more of a question mark rather than safety. Because just like Akello, Colbert went through his sophomore slump, also went through that major injury too. And I think Colbert, I would expect him to bounce back a lot more. But Earl Thomas would be a nice signing. But I think that I would rather trust Colbert and go with Colbert's heart and go after like this rather than Tart and then wait for our cornerback to work out. But cornerback this draft class are relatively thin, so that's kind of why I think this year would be more of a priority at.
Yeah, I don't know if they can hear you, but you were breaking up a lot with me. I heard Desir.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Basically, corner over safety. It's kind of weird saying it like this, but I would almost rather have Desir at least as much as Earl Thomas. Because I think having a viable cornerback is just as important as having a viable safety. It's just I think we're a little better set at safety than we are at cornerback. Because if I think our safeties are, God, it's tough because our secondary needs a lot of help, point blank. But I would much rather take the chance on Tart and Colbert having decent bounce back years than having to risk Akello Weatherspoon really going through bad lumps again and saying if Sherman just happens to go down. And then we're stuck with Tavarius Moore and Greg Mapen. And I'd rather address Desir and have Desir as a better safety blanket than have to deal with those guys. You get what I'm saying? You know how it kind of comes off?
I get what you're saying. I'm going to disagree. I think safety is probably in the secondary the most important position because if you can add somebody like Earl Thomas, he literally jumps you from 15th to 10th. His ability to be able to cover from sideline to sideline, Colbert doesn't have that in his head yet, mentality wise.
Yeah.
Colbert is a decent player, don't get me wrong, but I think that he needs to learn how to study film better. He needs to learn angles better. We're fine with Richard Sherman right now, and I think we're fine with Akello because if we get a pass rush, both their grades are going to go up. If Akello goes down or Sherman goes down, and we have who else played corner last year? Maben, Moore.
Mosley, too. Emmanuel Mosley.
Mosley. The only person we really got burnt with on those side was Maben, and that was only in one game. He literally had a good bounce back year after that Green Bay game. They attacked him as soon as he came in, like the first 3 plays, and that's what put everybody down on Maben, but he actually had a decent year coming off of that. Akello had a better year. He started coming back. Akello's going to come back this year and be a whole different player. Pretty much guarantee it. But the safety is the king and the key to that whole defense in this defensive scheme. Your safety is going to command and change up what's going on, and he basically runs that whole defense, meaning the secondary, the corners. Obviously linebackers run up front, safety runs up everything in the back. So I'm going to disagree with you because I think safety right now is one of our biggest needs because with a Richard Sherman who can get beat like he did the one play or even Akello, your safety becomes the main factor of that secondary. He's your last man. So if your pass rush doesn't get there and one of your corners gets beat, you still have a finisher at safety instead of a Colbert who can't take angles right. You have a guy in Earl Thomas who can cover sideline to sideline, knows this defense in and out. And I think we're not going to run as much zone next year. So I think we're going to run more cover 2s, cover 3, the wide 9. Like I think we're going to switch it up. I don't think it's all going to be what we're doing right now. But I think if you wait on safety, you're going to miss out on a good name in free agency, and it's going to take you another 2 years to build. You go out and get that key component right now to where you can nurture and train corners to take over for Richard Sherman eventually. Like you can, even if you got a Pierre Desser in here, if something happens, you have him here. If Akello sits and just learns more, it helps us there. But I think safety would be the primary position I would go after right now first, other than edge. I would go edge, safety, corner. That's how I would do it. It doesn't mean it's right or wrong, but
no, it's a good point, and it's tough to look at it both ways because safety was just as bad as cornerback play, and we don't really have the front. Well, this past season, we didn't have the front four to really mask those deficiencies, and even when the front four was getting some pressure, the corners were still just as bad. So it's tough, but it's just with the safety market that's so saturated and with so many big names, there's so many directions that could be gone about. It's just fuck, Nick. Sorry the language, but we really need help on that secondary.
We do,
and I would like Earl Thomas, but I would also like someone like Amos if he happens to be available, or Trey Boston. We have those. There's so many safety options out there. The door is just wide open, and we've seen a lot of speculation too, where it's like, oh, if we don't draft or if we don't sign a safety, we're gonna draft Thornhill or we're gonna draft Jonathan Abraham or Taylor Rapp in the draft. And there's just that part of me that says, man, I'm kind of almost done trying to hit on these draft picks, and I want to go for the sure thing in free agency because we've had weird splash signings the past couple of years with guys like Rick Berg and McKinnon and Malcolm Smith and Juszczyk, those type of things. And I'll admit it's nice to nail in the draft, but I feel taking the free agent approach almost seems to be more safer than the draft. God, Nick, I just want these guys to take a safety. I want these guys to take a corner if we both need it.
Well, I think the possibility of getting a corner and safety is very high in free agency, obviously. It's just a matter of what you want to pay. Amos, you're probably going to pay 13 a year, 13 and a half, 14. That's what the bar is set at right now. Let's just say 15 for shits and giggles. Excuse the language. But I'd rather pay that if it's really going to cost 16 or 17 million, I'd rather pay that extra money to a Earl Thomas who knows this system in and out, and he doesn't have to learn like other safeties that we bring in. He is the best safety in this scheme. He's the best safety in the league right now. Even with it coming off a broken leg, he's still the best safety in this league. He's 29 years old. $17.5 million for a 4 or 5 time Pro Bowl safety is not a lot of money. So if you really want, you have to categorize it. Like you really do. Are you giving up on your third round pick in third round, right, for Akello? Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you giving up on your third round pick and saying, hey, I don't have faith in you and I'm going out and get another guy who's going to take your spot right now first, or you get a safety and shore up the back end of it for your last, your like I was saying, that whole spiel of your safety is your primary guy who's going to be your last man standing. And if your corner gets beat, then fine. Right now, I just still think categorizing is edge is the most important. I would go, this is me, I would go Houston, still draft Boza, right? Safety, I'd go Earl Thomas, and I'd go on the corner side, Pierre Desser. Now, Pierre Desser is going to want a lot of money too. He's going to probably want, I don't know, I'd say probably $9 million a year. That's probably average for him, around $9 million.
He'll be a top 10 corner, I think, because honestly, it sounds minimal, but if you watch how he did it against DeAndre Hopkins, because he's coming out of the AFC South from the Colts.
Oh, Ricardo, is that true? Somebody said Earl just went to Dallas, but I didn't see that.
Oh, I don't know. But
no, I don't see that.
if what was I saying? Desir's can command decent money, and all people need to do is really watch his film against DeAndre Hopkins to see how well he performed as a corner overall. But Nick, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I'm listening.
Okay. If we don't address corner, would you rather address corner in the second round or take a wide receiver?
Say that again. You broke up.
If we don't take cornerback in the free agency, whether it's Desir or Roby, do you address corner in the second round, or are you addressing wide receiver?
I'm probably addressing corner in the second round because I know we don't have true number one wide receivers right now, but we have receivers that work in Kyle Shanahan's system. And you could probably still pick up a Deebo Samuel, even a Ridley probably in the third round. So I would go edge, corner, receiver if it was that case. If we get a corner in free agency, I would go edge, free agency, or edge, wide receiver, probably guard or something in the third round.
One more thing. Say, I'm kind of throwing the hypotheticals at you, but say we don't get an edge this class, but we still stay at 2 and get Bosa. Would you want to drop that second round pick on D Ford?
No.
Because D Ford has been in the talks for the Niners, especially in a trade scenario. Especially if the Chiefs believe they don't fit in that defensive scheme now that they're switching to a 4-3. But a lot of people say that D Ford would fit well in our scheme, which is genuinely a 4-3. But with the switch to wide 9, it'll put D Ford in a better position. Would you want to drop that second round pick on D Ford if we don't take edge in free agency?
No, because you're still giving up. I'd rather go after Justin Houston, who's not going to call this. I just had this debate with Mike the other night, Sunday night. And he was for D Ford and I was for Justin Houston. Not only are you giving up draft capital, right, for this year, then you have to hope that you're only going to get him I think he's playing on the tag at 14. I think it was 14.5 million this year is he's making. So then you have to hope that you can get a new contract with him and that he wants to play here. And if he decides to walk away, you have to pay him $14.5 million this year. Plus you wasted a second round high ass pick, which is pretty much a first. And then he walks away. So I'd rather go after somebody who's a free agent in Justin Houston, sign him long term, or get the contract done to where he doesn't really have any say if he wants to do the contract or not, because he's playing on the tag this year. So if you bring him here, you have to pretty much match that, and he doesn't have to say, I want to do a 3-year deal. If he doesn't want to play here, he was traded here. So it's not like he chose to come here. So you're giving up draft capital, you're paying that money and hoping that you can get him long-term and paying all that other money, where Houston, you could go and just say, I'm going to give you a 3-year, $27 million deal. That's $9 million a year. And you're here for 3 years and still get Bosa. So I wouldn't trade for D Ford if he was absolutely the last guy in free agency and you needed edge, I would do it. But if there's other guys out there, even like an Anthony Barr, which I don't think has legitimately signed anywhere yet. Well, nobody signed yet, but Wednesday. But Justin Houston, I would make those my priority over a trade that's going to cost me a second rounder.
Good point.
So, and it's not right or wrong. Like I just said, I would rather save, because you don't know what your second round draft pick is going to turn out to be. And you could say, oh, well, here's my second rounder. It's pretty much a first, which we could really use that as something else if we wanted to. We could use that pick to trade back into the first round. I mean, it's possible, right? I just think you're handcuffing yourself when you go to trade for somebody who you're going to get the same type of production out of Justin Houston as you are D Ford, and you don't have to give up the draft capital. You just give a deal. So, and and I'm not saying that Houston's better than Ford or Ford's better than Houston, but you're going to get average the same pretty much type of production. One's a little bit older. He's 3 years older. And we had this, if you guys want to watch that debate, is me and Mike, you just check our channel. We did it on Sunday night. What is your thoughts on DK Metcalf? Let's talk some receivers because there's a lot of DK Metcalf going on with 49ers fans. What is your honest opinion of DK Metcalf?
Not at number 2 overall. Not in the trade back scenario. If he slid in the second round for whatever reason, assuming we addressed edge in free agency, we addressed corner and safety in free agency, then maybe. But I still think our second round pick, which is so valuable, which is almost like a first round pick, would be worth DK Metcalf. Because like you said, I think Shanahan he values the quicker, more twitchy wide receivers more. It's something that could be addressed in the third round. Now, I put out an article about 5 ways to fix the Niners, and I think my number 1 draft guy who I want in the mid rounds is JJ Arcega. I am a firm, hands-down believer that although Shanahan likes the quickness in receivers, we still need some type of size. And we need a guy who can high point the ball. We need some guy that we can just call a legitimate red zone threat because of how bad our red zone is. And I think that would come with JJ Arcega. So with DK Metcalf's value, how people project him in the first or very early second, I don't want Metcalf. Shanahan's ability to perform with almost any given receiver is enough for me to think we don't need to spend a high draft pick on the wide receiver. Because if we do somehow go after a guy like Tyrell Williams, then I don't think we draft receiver. I think he makes Tyrell a 1,000-yard guy. And that's about all we need, really. We need size and we need athleticism and we need a big body, a wide receiver. Like I said, I'm a firm believer in that. And I get that DK Metcalf is that guy. I mean, we've all seen the viral pictures of his body, but that's not enough to move me to think that he's worth any type of first or early second. Like I said, I would much rather J.J. Arcega, Riley Ridley, Deebo Samuel, Kelvin Harmon, N'Keal Harry. I would much rather those guys than DK Metcalf.
I think Metcalf goes in the first round, but I don't think he can go. I think number 2 is too high for him.
Way too rich.
Yeah, way too rich. He still has a lot to learn with route running. His years at Ole Miss weren't as much as everybody thinks it is, and you come in here and you blow away the combine, and it boosts your level of what you are. Like Polite hurt himself in the combine, where his tape is really good. He hurt himself with his attitude, his ability, and then his combine. He didn't test well. Then he faked, I don't want to say he faked, but he had a hamstring injury. Metcalf came in where his route running and stuff wasn't that good at Ole Miss. Browns was way better, right? In my opinion, Browns was way better route runner, more crisp, has good hands, all-around receiver, where Metcalf was, he had a decent college career, don't get me wrong, but then he comes into the combine, he runs, a 4.3 or 4.4?
Yeah, and he's historically low in the 3-cone and shuttle.
Right. And then everybody says, oh, well, he slipped. He slipped. Well, that's your time. Dude, you should have wore the right cleats. You should have wore the right things. But look, he had a great combine, right? I'm not going to lie. He had a great combine. Other than his 3 cuddle shown and his his 3 shuttle cone and his 10-second split was drastically bad. I just don't I think he's probably top 20 in the draft with ceiling level and being able to be good. But I don't think that he is a number 2. I don't think he's a top 10. I don't think he's a top 10
pick. He's not a top 10 pick.
No, he's not.
I could see him, like you said, he could be a late first-round pick to someone like Baltimore, or even though Indianapolis just signed Devin Funchess, he could go to Indy too if he slides. But top 10, top 15 is just too rich for a guy who has the nice stats, who had some of the nice test numbers. But then once people watch the film and watch some of his combine, then all the question marks start to rise.
Yeah, I'm just guys are asking like are we passing on him as the Niners? Yes, we're passing on him. I don't think we're taking, even if we get the top edge rusher in free agency, we are not drafting a receiver at number 2. Drafting receivers in the first round in Niners history is not good.
I don't even want to think about that.
Yeah. I think if anything, we address receiver in, depending on what we do in free agency, either the second or third round. And like I said, I still think a Riley Ridley will still be there in the third round. Every draft I have done, Riley Ridley has been there in the third round. Even in the second round, a N'Keal Harry, a AJ Brown, we're pretty much in that first pick. You're not going to lose. Let's say you're not going to get 10 or 7 receivers off the board in the first round. There's going to be good receivers there in the second round. Just depends on what you do in the free agency. You don't need a Metcalf. There's other guys out there that can do the same thing. All right, so we talked about receiver a little bit. I think that's pretty much it that we have right now, right?
Yeah, we nailed it.
Yeah, we've been going a little while, so guys, we'll still be on, so don't forget our shows are on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays. If there's any breaking news, JJ Stokes, yeah. Good Lord, that was a long time ago. Anyway, our shows are Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Sundays, 9:30 p.m. or 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, depending. Mike works late some nights, so if I don't have anybody jumping on with me, we usually wait for him to get home if he gets home. If not, I think Anthony will be joining tomorrow night too. I'm trying to line a guest up for this week to come on and talk. I'm not going to tell you who it is just in case it falls through, but I'm trying to line up a guest, and he is a former player or has played in the NFL. Trying to line it up for this week just to come on and shoot the shit with us. But make sure you hit the bell, that little bell right down there, for notifications, because once the Niners sign somebody or are reported to signing somebody, myself and Mike will be doing breaking news all throughout the day. Doesn't matter what time it is, what time of night it is. I will jump on here if I have to by myself. Make sure you follow all of our social media avenues. Snapchat and Twitter, nothing but 9ERS. Facebook and Instagram, nothing but Niners, all spelled out. Check out our website, nothingbutniners.com. Make sure you can check all of our social media avenue out there as well. Hit the like and subscribe button here on the YouTube channel. And other than that, I don't really have anything else. Anthony, you got anything else?
Yeah, I'm going to quickly just tie this back to the very beginning of the video. Don't fret about the numbers and PFF numbers with Kwon Alexander. The guy is a fantastic scheme fit. The guy is a great leader. I sound like I'm promoting my article, but another guy I wanted to add was CJ Mosley. And seeing what we paid for Kwon, I wouldn't have mind what Royce was saying about paying a few extra million for Mosley. But looking at the film and seeing what Kwon has done and what he is, I believe that this might just be John Lynch's best signing yet. And it might not be the biggest one that he's going to make this free agency period. Kwon Alexander is going to be a huge, huge impact on this defense. And him and Warner are just going to be amazing together. They really are. That's my closing thoughts. Don't look at the PFF numbers. Don't look at the stat box and think, oh, well, he doesn't get sacks. He doesn't have that many interceptions. Just look at the film and look what the guy brings and look what he can do. And he's going to show it in San Francisco. And he's going to look fantastic in red and gold.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. I think Kwon Alexander was a great pickup. We talked about the knee injury. He'll come back from that. Other than that, guys, hey, if you guys want to get any of our apparel, Look, I got that Stone Cold Kittle shirt on right there. Check that out. Any of our apparel. If you want to get any of that, we got the Birth of a Dynasty shirt. See right here. B-Niners 87. You can find that on our website. If you're interested in those, just hit me up. Let me know. We'll get you one out. Other than that, I don't really have anything else. Guys, remember, stay loyal, stay faithful. Trust the process. I know we're all tired of losing, but it's coming. It's coming. It's coming. I hope it's coming. I'm going to be faithful, and I'm going to trust the process. So if you guys want any apparel, like I said, visit nothingbutniners.com. Hit me up. All orders go through me right now until I get the other part of our website up and running to where you can direct order. Other than that, I don't really have anything else. Thanks for tuning in tonight, guys. Really appreciate love and support. Don't forget Tuesday night, Thursday night, and Sunday night, and any other than that, breaking news. Breaking news. If we sign anybody or rumored to sign anybody from like Rappaport, Rap Sheet, or Schefter, people like that, we'll bring it to you live right here on the YouTube channel. So make sure your bell's set. And other than that, guys, I hope everyone enjoys their night. And above all else, stay faithful. We out of here.